Not used to playing with a pick. Yeah, I can never change what I feel. My prayer now and now in the room. Should have tuned my guitar before I got on stream, folks. Oh, that's all right, though. That is okay. All good in the hood, as they say. I'll tune it and I'll play for you all next time. All right, I'm trying something new. Excuse me. I want to adjust my camera angle at some point so that it's not attached to my computer on my desk so that it doesn't shake like that. But today I'm just going to try standing back a little bit, just like staying away from the desk. And hopefully that will stabilize things and look a little better. I've noticed that a lot of podcasters stand farther away from the camera. I was kind of doing the Hassan Piker thing earlier. I'm just like breathing on the camera, like, clicking through stuff. But I think I'll stand back a little bit now. Some podcasts, like what's that one with those comedians? Andrew Schulz is the guy's name. Flagrant. They had Yeonmi Park on the other day. It's like 4 guys, and they're just like sitting in chairs facing the camera. That seems a little weird. Like I feel like I would scratch my nether regions or something and everybody would see it. But that's neither here nor there. I need to stop rambling, folks. Midwestern Marx Records when I tune my guitar and when we have the money that we need to open up a record studio, which is hopefully soon. Hey, Jacob. Hey, Cobalt Steel. Elon Musk is such a turd. Oh, yeah, giant turd. And he looks like a turd. And he smells like a turd. That's straight facts. Hey, everyone. Hey, SG. Started Italian, but went US with the vocals. Hey, everybody. What's up, Where Pilgrim? Welcome back. Where Pilgrim and Cobra Commander are in the house. So no darn dirty trolls will be bothering us today because we got our top moderators guarding the chat from any jerks. Yo, finally on time. I'm glad. I tried to let everybody know in the Discord that we're going to be streaming, but screaming. If you want to join the Discord, it's available to all Midwestern Marx Patreon supporters now. We made it Patreon only so that we can have it be more organized and easier to control. That could change, but for now it's Patreon only. You can join for $1 on the Patreon, and then we'll never kick you out. We'll never kick you out once you're in. So if you pay for, unless somebody sabotages our Discord server again and kicks everybody out, but that's kind of beyond my control. So if you give us $1 on the Patreon, we'll give you the Discord link, and then we won't kick you out, even if you don't give us any more money for the next 20 years. Because we're interested, we just want to use it to teach people Marxism and organize people, not as a ploy to make money. But having the paywall there, it does bring in more money for the website, obviously, having some kind of content behind a paywall. But having the paywall there helps us filter people out, because the Discord can be a hassle when we're constantly getting raided by libertarians or rad libs or some infrared people or infrared affiliated people raided us the other day. And that's just annoying. So that's where we're at with the Discord. Yeah, that should be it for housekeeping stuff, for boring stuff. I'm also returning to work on my Venezuela book. I've decided I really, really, really want to hammer that. And that's something that I want to put out this summer. So my book, Why Socialism Worked in Venezuela and America Needs It Too. I'm like 38 pages deep right now. I don't know how long it'll be. Not a long one, but I'm going to start hammering down on that soon. So look forward to that. All right, you got a 10 euro super chat. Not 10 pounds, 10 euros. I'm learning my European currency day by day. Ever see Chomsky on a podcast? Half his face is always below shot. It is. Thank you so much for the super chat, Ross. That's like Tom Riggins, too. Every time we do like a Zoom event or a StreamYard event with Tom, he's got like his phone, and, you know, he's 81 years old, so I don't expect him to be the most technologically advanced member of Midwestern Marx. But it's funny because he's always got his phone. He's always like sitting in front of his oven or something, or just like in a random corner of his house or his apartment. He's like filming the top of his head and reading off a Post-it note or something. It's just funny. Yeah, we're always trying to increase our production value here. Eventually, we'll have our own studio, full-on studio. Mentions Musk, sharpened guillotine. I do think so. I've been doing a bunch of is Venezuela the sixth? That's a really good question. I will answer that in a sec, Frippa. Thank you for asking that. I've spent a lot of time researching Elon Musk the past few days. Both, you know, his work at Tesla, his work at SpaceX, and obviously I've kind of been following what's been going on at Twitter in real time. But there's some new developments in relation to that from the last 2 days. But he's such a fraudster, and his public profile and the public perception of him has been very carefully manufactured by teams of marketers and even legal experts. And the dude's constantly in and out of legal trouble. He's been charged with fraud multiple times. He's lied to shareholders blatantly multiple times. Pretty much nothing that he's predicted or said that he's going to do has come true. None of it's actually happened. And yet there's still a passionate fan base who's tricked into thinking that this guy is some sort of real life Tony Stark. All right. So as much as we like to talk about systemic issues and you know, theory rather than just hyper focusing on individuals, sometimes it is worth our while to talk about various individuals, especially capitalist individuals like Musk, who are some of the richest people in our ruling class, who got there by fraud, by marketing himself, by tricking people into thinking that he's Tony Stark. And of course, there's tons of State Department influence and Department of Defense influence in the Marvel movies. So characters like Tony Stark, good guy, who's basically a military industrial complex capitalist who manufactures weapons to bomb people in the Middle East. And, you know, that's a good guy in the Marvel movies. Those sort of characters in our culture push people into believing that someone like Musk could actually be a real life Tony Stark, even though he's got hundreds of engineers working under him who are actually doing the work. But yeah, we're going to go into some of the details today. If people have seen Thunderfoot's videos on Elon Musk, you probably know a lot of the stuff I'm talking about already. But Musk, a fraudster, propped up by good PR. Hey, that's what I was just saying, Sparky. Glad to see more people realizing how evil and incompetent he is. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Really, really, really helps. And yeah, like I always knew he was a capitalist, and therefore he was only doing the things that he was doing for money and profit. And, you know, he's got tons of workers underneath him who are actually building the things that create his wealth or represent his wealth, while he takes credit for all of them, right? But I didn't know the level of lies, the level of fraud, the level of making empty promises like, you know, don't build any high-speed rail, just let me make this Hyperloop. You know, I'm going to make something that's way better than rail, which is an idea that he stole from like a science fiction book 60 years ago, that's been proven to not work as well as high-speed rail, that he never accomplished. He never built. There is no freaking Hyperloop. So instead of having high-speed trains all over the country or California or wherever that have been proven to work, that China has, you know, built in the last 12 years, they now have high-speed rail connecting all of their major cities. Instead of having that, we don't have that. We hardly have any public transportation. We've just got this fraudster, this guy pretending he's the smartest guy in the country, telling us, no, don't build any high-speed rail. I'm going to make a magic hyperloop. And then not making it. And then just continuing to pretend like he's the smartest damn guy in the country after failing to follow through on any of his promises and preventing us from expanding infrastructure and expanding proven technology like high-speed rail that would make people's lives better by offering public transportation. And it would also be huge for areas like the Midwest where I live, or the South, because it would connect us to the major cities. It would connect us to the major centers of economic power. So all of the agricultural commodities and things that are produced in the Midwest could easily be transported by train to New York or wherever else. It would be great for the Midwestern and Southern economies. But instead of that, we just have the idea of a hyperloop. It's never actually going to work or be built, but it sounds cool in theory, right? It's insane. Elon Musk is an insane fraud. And we're going to cover that today. But first, in relation to my Venezuela book, I wanted to answer this question. Is Venezuela the sixth actually existing socialism? So I wish Carlos was here to answer this with me, or Noah. But I would make a distinction between existing socialism and dictatorships of the proletariat, right? Maybe you could also call it a distinction between communist countries and socialist countries, okay? Cuba is a dictatorship of the proletariat. Cuba is a communist country. The DPRK, Laos, Vietnam, okay? These are explicitly communist countries run by communist parties who have the explicit goal of constructing socialism, of building socialism. Venezuela, the Bolivarian revolution, is not what I would call a dictatorship of the proletariat. Their government system and the way it's set up still resembles bourgeois democracies in many ways, or representational republics. A dictatorship of the proletariat would have arrested someone like Juan Guaido rather than allowing him to run around wreaking havoc and attempting coups, most likely. Although Venezuela's strategy in relation to Guaido paid off in the long run because he eventually just became a joke who nobody supports. But either way, the opposition parties are still allowed. This is the main one. 75%, at least, of Venezuela's media is run by private corporations. And it's run by private corporations who hate the Bolivarian revolution, who hate the socialists, who hate the leftists, who will say we're going to turn into an evil authoritarian dictatorship like Cuba, even though, like I'm saying right now, Venezuela's system is much different than Cuba's. So there's all these aspects of capitalism in their country that, you know, a dictatorship of the proletariat, a country like China or the DPRK just wouldn't allow. That being said, I still think Venezuela is a socialist country. They're still investing their oil resources in healthcare and education with the help of Cuba. They're still constantly being targeted by the U.S. and multinational corporations and imperialists who want to plunder their oil. They still have all these social programs that are enacted. They still have this series of communes that are meant to promote direct democracy and the people's direct control over their way of life and their politics, which are backed by the Venezuelan state, by the ruling Socialist Party. There's still a ruling Socialist Party in power, although it's a coalition of various socialist parties. And the Venezuelan Communist Party has critiques of the ruling Socialist Party, like saying they're not a dictatorship of the proletariat. But Venezuela is still socialist. I would still say they're an existing socialist country. They're still attempting to build socialism. I just wouldn't say they're a dictatorship of the proletariat or a communist country. And in Carlos and I did a piece about the pink tide in Latin America for the International magazine, which I can send you guys right now. But that's basically what we argued in here. We were like, Venezuela is a socialist country, not a communist country, not a dictatorship of the proletariat. They need to become a dictatorship of the proletariat in order to alleviate a lot of the problems that they're having. And in our interview with Dr. Paul Cockshott, he helped us expand on this. He's like, yeah, I mean, they need to take control of the state, right? The government. But more importantly than that, they need to take control of the economy, right? Socialism is ultimately about transforming the mode of production, not just transforming the government. In many ways, Venezuela has transformed the government. In many ways, there are ways where they haven't, and things that I wish they would change. But what they haven't done is taken tons of the major industry into state hands, into public hands. They haven't taken the media into public hands. They have Telesur, Venezuelan state media, which is one of the best media outlets in the world, which platforms really great independent journalists all the time. But they're overshadowed in many ways by Globovision and these giant capitalist-run propaganda networks who the government, doesn't want to take power of. And they know they'll get accused of being authoritarian and the U.S. will place more sanctions on them and whatnot. But the U.S. is kind of doing that anyways, right? So there's no use trying to placate the imperialists. So we wish that they would take more of their economy into public hands. But countries like Venezuela, countries like Bolivia, I would make a distinction in saying, ultimately, this is my point in answering this question. I would make a distinction between communist countries, dictatorships of the proletariat, and socialist countries. Bolivia, Venezuela. I'm drawing a blank now, but countries like that are socialist. I mean, it's hard. You could go either way with some of them, like Colombia and Honduras elected socialistic or social democratic. Not social democratic, but socialist leaders. But they're nowhere near where they're at in their transition to socialism compared to like Venezuela. In Venezuela and Bolivia, they've taken a lot of the resources and nationalized them and used them to pay for social programs that's raised the standard of living of their people. In Honduras and Colombia, they've just gotten rid of like explicitly racist things in the Constitution that were implemented years ago by U.S.-backed right-wingers. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to call those countries socialist yet just because they have socialist leaders. But Venezuela, Bolivia, countries like that, I would say are existing socialism. Cuba, the DPRK, China, Laos, Vietnam, and what's the last one? I'm drawing a blank on the last one. Those countries are dictatorships of the proletariat and are communist. I just had it in my mind. Nicaragua. Yes. And the Sandinistas, I would say, is a dictatorship of the proletariat. That was a great question. Thank you very much for that. Venezuela needs to foster their billionaire class. They need to put their billionaire class on a boat and just send them out to sea. Like, have fun, guys. Peace. Hope you make it to Miami. Why do the futurists always promise that more of X is more efficient? Who thinks 50 motors is better than one train motor and 50 cars? It's clearly just to sell more crap to us rather than to help us. Great point, Sparky. Great point. A lot of it just comes back to the contradiction within every commodity between use value and exchange value. A lot of these capitalists like Musk are just marketing their things as the future. This is the newest innovation. It's got the most power. But it's just him trying to sell you more crap because that's what makes him more money. There's very little innovation in terms of actual use values in the modern capitalist economy. Even though we're told over and over again that the market in capitalism breeds innovation. It breeds innovation in terms of making profit. They're always finding innovative new ways to rip us off and make money off of us. But that doesn't mean commodities are getting better. I mean, the iPhone, it's changed, but it hasn't changed for the better in years, really. I mean, like, drastically. The operating systems have gotten smoother and stuff, but really the phones just keep changing size. So not that there isn't innovation under capitalism, but to the extent that there is, it comes from the workplace. It comes from production. It comes from the workers. And Elon claims to know more about manufacturing than anybody else in America. That's a real claim that he made, but it's complete and utter nonsense, to put it bluntly. So let's get into this, shall we? The first thing that pisses me off more than anything, and maybe I should just show you all my TikTok that I made about this. The thing that pisses me off more than anything is that Elon claimed he was going to make a self-driving truck that is better than rail, that's going to outcompete rail and make it not even worth it to invest in rail at all. And there was even a thing in California where he was lobbying the government to not go ahead and build high-speed rail because he was going to do this hyperloop instead, or he's going to do his self-driving cars or underground tunnels or whatever. So he's actively preventing public infrastructure projects that would make people's lives better, but would infringe on his market, infringe on the people he's trying to sell to. Well, he's promising us these sci-fi futuristic commodities or sci-fi futuristic means of transportation that he doesn't follow through on. So he's preventing us from having real innovation. He's serving as a fetter on production, as Marx would say, and the advancement of production.
Guaranteed low electricity, and it's assuming $250 gasoline price. We're guaranteeing a 7-cent kilowatt wholesale price. I want to be clear about that. This is real. These are real numbers.
But 7 cents per mile, guaranteed. And they needed that number to show that their truck could beat rail.
What this means is it's not just economic.
By the way, this is a video from a guy named Thunderfoot, who's a chemist. I definitely don't agree with him on everything if we were to get into politics, but his videos debunking Elon Musk are scientific, materialist, and very, very good.
Truck could beat rail.
What this means is it's not just economic suicide to use one diesel truck. It's economic suicide for rail. This beats rail.
Sorry, what was that, Elon? You want to debunk the Tesla Semi again by telling us how much do you currently charge for supercharging? Oh, 50 cents. And that's for the Tesla superchargers. And it's likely going to be much more expensive for the trucks because the superchargers are relatively small and cheap. The mega charger for the truck basically requires its own power substation merely to charge one truck.
But we realize that the economics of trucking matter tremendously. If you have a truck, if your cost per mile is too high, it doesn't make economic sense. You can't make it work.
Yeah, we in the business, Elon, call that foreshadowing.
All of the factors, the fully accounted for true cost of trucking, a diesel truck will be 20% more expensive than a Tesla Semi per mile.
And all he needed for that was $2.50 per gallon gas and 7 cents for a kilowatt hour of electricity.
So they're not more efficient. Not only are they not more efficient than diesel trucks even, but they're not more efficient than high-speed rail or even close. And keep in mind, Elon was promising this in 2017. It's freaking mid-2023. Where are the self-driving trucks? Where are Tesla's self-driving trucks that have replaced diesel and have replaced high-speed rail? They don't exist because they're still in development, because they haven't actually made them. They just promised them and prevented us from building any high-speed rail as an alternative. Meanwhile, let's just take a look at China. Just look at what China has been able to build with high-speed rail with known technology in just 12 years, right? Almost the same amount of time that Elon has been promising us this self-driving truck that's going to outperform rail. This is what we could have. This is what socialism could build for us. We could have high-speed rail that's more environmentally efficient than any vehicle that we have on the road right now, connecting every major city in this country, connecting Chicago and New York and California. And you could have access to that. And economic firms could have access to that. Like I said earlier, this would connect the Midwest and the South to the big cities, major centers of economic power. But instead of having a rationally run economy, an economy run by the people or by the Communist Party who builds high-speed rail because that's what everyone wants, and this is what would make people's lives better, we have this fraudster running our economy promising us sci-fi trucks that he never follows through on. It's like, no, don't build high-speed rail. Buy my sci-fi truck. I'm so smart. I'm basically Tony Stark. And then he never builds it. And then we don't have any rail. And then people wonder why our infrastructure is crumbling in this financialized, deindustrialized, imperialist economy in decay. So this is why I wanted to talk about Musk specifically, because it shows the systemic problems with capitalism. These are the people who run the economy. These are the people who are in charge. And they have no interest in mind other than their own profit. So that's the one that makes me the most frustrated. But then, even despite the fact that Musk is a known fraudster, and that any journalist who actually did their research into him before talking about him should know that he's a fraudster, should know that he doesn't follow through on his promises, to know that he's embarrassed himself multiple times. He's been charged with fraud. He's been charged with lying to shareholders. He's busted up his workers' unions. He's nothing but a greedy capitalist who lies about how much he innovates. Despite that, his marketing teams and certain political pundits and figures in the media still treat him like he's Tony Stark. So he still has this dedicated audience who believes he's the smartest man in the world. And it's unbelievable once you watch the videos of people like Thunderfoot just debunking everything Musk has done or everything that he said step by step. So one of the people who still believes this Elon Musk delusion that we're going to go further into debunking as this stream goes on is Bill Maher, the liberal political pundit Bill Maher. So this was sent to us by a friend of the show, Chris, aka Chris Runs This. I don't know if Chris still makes TikTok videos, but they're on TikTok. They sent me this and said it would be perfect for the series Teaching Marxism to Kyle Kalinske, which I think it would be perfect for that, but it's also perfect for our Dunking on Elon Musk Day that we're having right now. But yeah, this is Bill Maher.
Had Elon Musk on his show, and I have to say, I mean, Bill Maher has been not my favorite commentator for quite a while now, but even I was surprised at the level he was fawning here. Like, he was truly, truly smitten. He was like salivating and drooling, and just, it's amazing to me. Because Bill Maher, I have many, many issues with him, but the dude like reads and follows the news and knows what's going on. Even if I don't agree with his take on it, his opinion on it, he has the basic information. So what you're going to see here is a guy who flat out disregarded and ignored the literally 28 different stories showing mistakes Elon has made or Elon's hypocrisy or goofy stuff. He just ignores all that to basically give him a smooth hand job live on air. So let's watch some of.
I mean, once you watch those Thunderfoot videos, once you watch an actual scientist break down Elon's promises compared to what he delivers in reality, the delusion of his fans becomes so obvious, right? It becomes so hilarious that people like Joe Rogan had him on. He's like, how do you work so hard? How does your brain manage to do so much in so little time? You know, we only have 24 hours in the day, but Elon's brain is so big. He has 48 hours in every day. And he works so hard that every hour is like 3 hours, actually. It's just absurd. It's like Joe Rogan watched Iron Man and was like, yeah, I think that could exist in real life. You know, this movie is basically a documentary. But it becomes so absurd once you see an actual scientist break down Elon's bullshit, to see these people, these media figures just sucking him off, for lack of a better word. And you know that they haven't done their research into Elon. Like Bill Maher, if he knew all this garbage that Elon had done, I'm sure he wouldn't have done this. But he's not a great journalist, and he doesn't do a whole lot of research on the things he talks about. So,
of it, and we'll break it down as we go. I'm warning you. I'm warning you.
I don't know if Bill Maher calls himself a journalist. He might just be. I think he calls himself a comedian.
This is not Brady.
My first guest is the man who made electric cars a thing and is currently working on perfecting reusable rockets, space travel, connecting the human brain directly to computers, connecting cities with electromagnetic bullet trains, the Starlink satellite system that's so important to the war in Ukraine. And then on Tuesday, he's going to work on that tunnel thing on traffic. He also tweets a lot. Elon Musk.
I just want to pause here to plug something, which helps like kind of refute that whole goofiness from Maher. Go type into YouTube Thunderfoot Elon Musk and then watch his videos. He's done so many. I mean, there's more than I can count, right? Where he really does a deep dive into claims Elon makes. Here's this product I'm going to make. Here's how I'm going to save the world. Here's how I'm going to do this. Here's how I'm going to do that. And then he gives a timeline for it. By this date, we're going to do this. And then he doesn't deliver on almost any of it. Any of it. Didn't a SpaceX rocket just blow up like this past week? And then Mar talks to him and he's like, you're saving the world, bro. You never made any mistakes about anything ever, bro. Remember, it went viral, this thing. He was on a show like 11 or 12 years ago, and he said, in 10 years, I'll have our first people on Mars. We've already blown by the deadline, and it's not like he's like, hey, man, we're 2 months away. We're almost... No, he clearly overpromised and underdelivered. And so exactly what you see is going on right now with how disastrous the Twitter changes have been. It's been like this with so many of his endeavors. And Mark just ignores all of that. So again, Thunderfoot, Elon Musk, enjoy watching a thorough debunking of...
Definitely watch those Thunderfoot videos. I mean, if you don't want to, I've pretty much watched them all at this point to prepare for this stream. But like I said, you'll never, once you watch those videos of an actual chemist, an actual scientist breaking down Elon Musk's claims about manufacturing and science, you realize how much of a fraud he actually is. Especially since he said that he knows more about manufacturing than anyone in America. And he went on Joe Rogan's podcast for Joe to just be like, you're so smart. You work 13 times harder than everyone in America combined somehow. It becomes more and more ridiculous once you see that Elon doesn't know shit about manufacturing. He's just, like, as Jacob said, he's literally promising stuff from science fiction books. And he's able to do it because he has a lot of capital, because he got his start from his dad's emerald apartheid mine in South Africa.
This myth that has been created of Elon Musk as the amazing genius who's solving all the world's problem and is not at all a hypocrite or fraudulent whatsoever.
Like a joke. Wow. Did I get the full order of things that you do in a day there? When I was reading there, I left out the tunnel thing at the end. Do you work on all these?
A lot of jobs.
Do you do all these things every day? Do you work on all of them in a single day?
No,
No.
but I do have a long work day. Yeah, so I work a lot.
Well, I'm so thrilled you're here because, you know, we do a show where we talk.
Dude, like, this is what frustrates me too when people talk about how hard he works and how he deserves that money because he's just working so much harder than everyone else. Like, I do Midwestern Marks, like, not full time, but, you know, about half of my day is spent doing Midwestern Marks at least. And this is something I love. This is something I'm truly passionate about that I can truly work hard on for hours and hours and hours in the day. But you're limited. There's only 24 hours in the day, dude. There's only 24 hours and you can only work so hard. And guess what? I've worked concrete jobs in this community, worked at Walmart in this community, and I know that there are other people having their labor exploited who, even though I love Midwestern Marks and I'm working really hard on it, there are other people working just as hard as me or working more hours than me because they're forced to. So this idea that certain people are just such hard workers that it's like they worked 36 hours in one 24-hour day, it's ridiculous. Nobody's that smart, right? There's no great men of history. There's no individuals who are smart or have superpowers where they can work extra time. Everybody's got 24 hours in a day, right? There are hard workers for sure. But Elon Musk can't invent Hyperloop and self-driving cars and PayPal all by himself just because he's so smart and he works so much harder. To the extent that he has invented things, it's because he has a team of engineers working underneath him.
About what changes happen in the world, but we just talk. There's a very few people who actually make change happen. You are one of those people, probably.
So it's just been nonstop fawning praise so far.
You are one of those people who makes change happen. How, Bill? What has he done? Where are the fucking Hyperloops, dude? Where's all the stuff that he promised? You're so stupid. This is so stupid. These people don't even know what they're talking about. Where are the self-driving trucks? Where are the things that he's promised? You're supposed to be a journalist. You're supposed to be a political pundit. You're supposed to be a progressive. You have one of the most powerful people in the world in front of you right now who's been caught lying 37 million times. And you're just like, you make change happen. You're the man. What has he changed? What has he changed, Bill? Please, I would really, really, really love to actually hear you tell me what innovations this guy is making. The self-driving cars? Oh, you mean the ones that aren't anywhere, that haven't been finished yet, that are still in development when he promised we'd have them 10 fucking years ago?
just want to say I love this audience. well, you're a likable guy. They attack.
Likeable guy to who? Remember when he went on stage at that comedy show and I think it was Hell or something and he got mass rounds of boo, boo. Likeable to you.
Exactly, needle in a sandbag. And where are the interviews with Tesla or SpaceX engineers, especially the engineers who have spoken out against Musk, or the ones who have said that SpaceX and Tesla are a terrible place to work, or that Elon Musk is a fraudster who creates a toxic work environment? Where are the interviews with them? Where are the interviews with the engineers who actually worked on the Hyperloop, who can actually tell you about the manufacturing process? There's never any interviews with them. There's interviews with Elon where he takes credit for everything that they've done and then distances himself from all these promises that he's made and then hasn't followed through on. But he's an innovator. He gets stuff done. Haven't you seen Iron Man? He's basically like that guy.
Dude, I'm telling you, there's some people that are just like old white man kryptonite. Donald Trump is one of them, and Elon Musk is another. To be fair to Elon, I'm sure he's got plenty of fans, like 20-some-odd-year-old fans, right? But you don't see many like female Elon Musk simps, do you?
I just want to say,
or Trump simps for that matter.
I want to say I love this audience.
You don't see many Elon Musk simps anymore at all, because you would have to be an absolute drooling idiot or just be completely ignorant about his career to think he's this Tony Stark type character that he portrays himself as at this point. I mean, honestly, that's what it is.
well, you're a likable guy. They attack you a lot.
They do.
And you seem to laugh it off, which I think is fantastic. I love it that you have a sense of.
So are you gonna address any of the criticisms of him? And who's they? Who exactly are we talking about here? Who attacks Elon Musk? I can tell you some people who quote unquote attack Elon Musk by point.
So yeah, I don't think we need to watch much more of Bill Maher praising Elon without bringing up any of the criticisms. You know, a true journalist, someone who really keeps the powerful in check by bringing them on his show to just gluck, gluck, gluck. I shouldn't do that. I should be more professional. But that's what it is. That's what it is. And that is the only reason that Bill Maher clip and the advertising around Elon Musk and movies like Iron Man that portray individual capitalists as genius heroes who can do the work of a million men in an hour. It is because of that Elon Musk is considered the smartest man in the world. It's not scientists who are blown away by his discoveries, by his innovation. That has nothing to do with it. It's all about marketing. And this was my favorite on-foot video to watch. One in the trucking one, because Elon promises
in this
that
video, we'll take a look at the Hyperloop.
And his self-driving truck are going to replace rail. And then he just doesn't follow through. Like, where is the Hyperloop? Where are the underground tunnels going throughout California that can take you from place to place? They don't exist. But guess what? There are trains, there are high-speed trains and subways in China that can take you from place to place. Because this guy's a liar, because he doesn't actually know anything about manufacturing, and because he doesn't actually care about improving America's infrastructure. That's the other thing about Musk, is he pretends like he's this altruistic capitalist. Oh, I'm not in it for the money. I'm buying Twitter because free speech. I care about free speech. I'm building the Hyperloop because I care about public transportation. I don't even care about the money. Like, dude, I've read Capital's Volume 1 and 2. I know that capitalists are forced to care about the money. And you don't even have to read Capital to know this. But capitalists have to continue expanding, have to continue making more and more and more and more profit. Otherwise, their businesses will go under. They'll have to sell off their capital, and they won't be capitalists anymore. They'll have to be workers, which is what terrifies them more than anything. Capitalism forces capitalists to constantly make more and more and more surplus. Otherwise, they get outcompeted and they go under. So when you hear a capitalist like Elon Musk say, I only care about innovation and people, I don't care about money, they're lying. They're lying because the structure of our system forces you to prioritize profit and prioritize capital and prioritize creating surplus value over creating what we call use value, over creating things that are actually useful and helpful to humanity, which is something that can't be measured, how useful you think something is. But what can be measured is profit. And if you don't produce more profit quantitatively than what you did before, you go under, which is the contradiction within commodities that are produced under capitalism between use value, the useful character that they have, and exchange value, the amount of money they make when sold on the market. And Musk and all the other capitalists, because they have to, based on the way that the system is set up, care about surplus value and exchange value and profit more than they care about creating things that are useful or innovating or setting up high-speed rail so that we can have quick and easy public transportation that's more environmentally friendly. But yeah, I recommend everybody watch those Thunderfoot videos. They absolutely debunk everything that Musk has promised from a scientific and a materialist or an engineering perspective. And yeah, we'll come back to Musk later on in the stream. I wanted to talk about that. And now we'll take a little bit of a different direction to talk about censorship and Matt Taibbi and some other things. But we'll come back to Musk. We'll come back to Musk in his recent escapades with Twitter and Twitter censorship. So the stream is still mostly still somewhat focused on Elon Musk. I just want to take a little bit of a turn. But let me interact with the chat a little bit first before we go on to that segment. Everyone always used speeding up when they react, so now it's going like 39 times speed. I can't understand a word. Well, I'm sorry. It was 1.25 speed, but you can slow down the stream. So if that's too fast for you, just slow down the stream to 0.75, and then that'll even out. So it'll be perfectly normal for you. Bill Maher can't help but polish that Tesla. Bill Maher definitely drives Tesla. It's like idiocy. Elon is a dumbass. He just happens to be the richest guy alive. Yeah, I mean, he's he makes a lot of short-term profits by promising these things, right? So he markets the Hyperloop and he markets these science fiction-esque products that he's promising everyone. And that makes a lot of money in the short term, right? Investors are willing to give him a lot of money, invest in this. But this is why he's had multiple court cases where he's been accused of defrauding investors, because it's a lie. Because he makes all that money then, which a lot of it is, going into his pockets. And then he doesn't follow through. And it's like, oh, well, we're not quite on schedule. We're not quite on schedule with any of our products. But trust us, they're coming soon. The whole thing, Tesla's whole business model is basically a fraud of trying to make a ton of money from investors in the short term and then not following through on any of your promises whatsoever. And then being propped up by millions of dollars in government subsidies. What a business model. Capitalism's awesome. This is so irrational that people like this run our economy. It's too irrational to even put into words. How powerful of a capitalist is Musk compared to the other ultra-rich capitalists? Less so. I don't know. He's well connected. He claims to be anti-World Economic Forum and anti-global elite or whatever, but he's connected to organizations like the World Economic Forum in various ways. And he was using Starlink to help support the NATO proxy war effort in Ukraine. He of course bragged about doing the coup in Bolivia. Like, he's all on board with imperialism and the domination of Western finance capital. He just pretends to be against it, which is a joke. Chinese Jack Ma, more valuable to humanity than Elon. Yeah, they got in a debate once, and it was interesting. I remember I made a TikTok about it, which is now deleted because TikTok deleted 4 of our accounts because they're censoring bastards who don't want people to talk about the NATO proxy war in Ukraine. But they had a debate over AI, and Elon was like, AI will overtake humanity. Trust me. Nobody's listening to me about this. And then the Chinese billionaire, Jack Ma, is like, well, humans created AI, so humans can always turn it off, right? And AI don't have the ability to create humans, but humans have the ability to create AI. So, while AI can be super powerful, as are other human creations like trucks or high-speed jets or military weaponry, they're still controlled by humans. So therefore, humans are smarter, and AI is sort of like a machine. It's just a really, really advanced machine, which is a very, 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 very Marxist way to look at it. And Elon Musk called the Chinese billionaire an idiot for saying that or something, or said that was when he realized he was an idiot, or I don't know. But it was much more insightful to listen to the Chinese billionaire than to listen to Musk's ramblings. Let's see here. Jack Ma being disciplined by the Chinese state after making anti-socialist comments was so based. That's funny. Anti-World Economic Forum? No way, he's a liar. Yeah, no, he made that up. And then he will hire people connected to the World Economic Forum or the National Endowment for Democracy. He's always loosely connected. And I mean, that's usually how it goes with these institutions. But hey, Johnny the Commie, how's it going? So now I want to switch gears just ever so slightly. Have people been following the Twitter Files drama, the Matt Taibbi drama? So Matt Taibbi released all these reports showing that Twitter was censoring information, working with the government to censor information, and liberal media as well as Congress collectively had a meltdown, and they've now made Matt Taibbi public enemy number one for sharing this information about censorship, because for them, censorship is combating disinformation, right? Russia and these other bad countries are spreading disinformation, and the honorable U.S. government, the honorable U.S. intelligence agencies, and honorable U.S. corporate media are here to delete that misinformation and disinformation and replace it with good facts, like the fact that we should be waging a proxy war in Ukraine until we can push ourselves towards nuclear war with Russia. Those type of facts. So Taibbi has been doing that. This is a really interesting article that I found that he laid out, talking about the censorship industrial complex, which kind of details how all of this is connected. We recently talked about the fact check websites, these websites that call themselves fact checkers, and then they just spread corporate propaganda, and anybody telling the truth about, say, proxy war in Ukraine, they say this is unfactual, untrue, fact checked, and then it's just a bunch of bullshit. We covered one from Politico last time, I believe. But he talks about that, talks about all the NGOs that are involved, talks about TikTok, which, like Twitter, hired a bunch of national security agents. And I would love to talk to Matt Taibbi about this. I know he's a busy guy and he's become very famous recently, but I'd love to talk to him about having 7 of our TikTok accounts banned as soon as the U.S. government forced China to hand over management of TikTok to Oracle, a CIA-connected, NGO-connected company in Texas. So after TikTok was handed over to Oracle, we had 7 of our TikTok accounts banned, with little to no explanation. And then Mint Press News released multiple articles showing that TikTok was being run by former State Department officials and NATO ops. Go figure. So, the app was so much better when China was in control. China's always getting accused of censorship, but I've only ever been censored by the U.S. government. So anyways, liberal media had a collective meltdown about Matt Taibbi's Twitter files and the fact that he's exposing their censorship, which hilariously they invert, right, and say that we're combating disinformation. We're trying to combat information that the people aren't allowed to see, so that people can get to the truth, when it's the opposite. Anything that they call a conspiracy, anything that they call disinformation ends up being true. So John Bones Jones. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. He's an author for MSNBC, so is he even really worth remembering? Who knows? But this is where we circle back to Elon Musk here. He wrote this article about Matt Taibbi in such a condescending tone that it's almost hard to believe that this passes as news. Hold on, let me turn off my ad blocker for this website because MSNBC is money hungry. But he works with Joyanne Reid, I believe, and the Readout, who is one of the worst corporate stooges at MSNBC, who will just viciously attack anybody who's telling the truth or doing actual journalism, which is supposed to be her job. Which is also what's so disgusting about these people is anytime someone like Matt Taibbi breaks a big story and does some actual investigative journalism, all of these corporate journalists come out and attack him. Come out and say, how evil is he? He hates our democracy. He's spreading misinformation because he released a story that's true. Like, he's doing what you guys are supposed to be doing. Right? He's doing the job of journalism that you're supposed to do, Jahan Jones and Joyanne Reid, which is why you guys get so mad at him. And why you guys smear him and tear him down for doing what's supposed to be your job. What you get paid a lot more than him to do. But of course, we know the fact that Jahan Jones is being paid by corporate media is exactly why he doesn't report the truth, why he doesn't do investigative journalism, because these aren't journalists. Joyanne Reid isn't a journalist. They're stooges. They're jesters. They're corporate mouthpieces and nothing more. So let's just read the tone of this article. Matt Taibbi, the conservative reporter, no, he's not, dude. He's a liberal. And I disagree with him strongly on a lot of things on the core of his politics, but he's not like some right-winger or conservative. And, I mean, I'll just keep reading for now before I make any more comments. But they're already portraying him. He's a conservative, a.k.a. one of the bad guys. He's not one of us. Who's been helping Elon Musk push the Twitter files conspiracy theory. Oh, it's a conspiracy theory now. Okay. So who decided that it was a conspiracy theory? Because everything I've seen from the Twitter files has been leaked information and leaked documents that are true and real. But now it's a conspiracy theory because Joyanne Reid and Jahan Jones decided it was. All right, I need to keep reading here and not comment on every sentence, but Elon wilted under the intense questioning from MSNBC host and another corporate propagandist and stooge, Mehdi Hasan, after being confronted with inaccuracies in his reporting. That's not what Mehdi Hasan confronted him with. The scene was a pleasure to watch. Why was it a pleasure to watch, Jahan? Why was it a pleasure for you to watch Mehdi Hasan attack Matt Taibbi? I thought you were a journalist, dog. I thought you only cared about the truth. I thought you were just trying to find out what's real and what's fake. That's the job of a journalist. Why are you filled with glee when one of your MSNBC coworkers attacks somebody that you don't like and who you've labeled as a conspiracy theorist and a conservative? It seems like you're a little biased here, Jahan. This doesn't really seem like journalism. It just seems like you shitting on someone that you don't like. Given that the premise of the Twitter files allegations that the government has unethically pressured Twitter to silence conservative voices and meddle in elections on Democrats' behalf is wholly meritless. No, it's not. No, it's not, you fucking liar. Dude, these people are so disgusting. How do you write something like that? It's not wholly meritless, and it wasn't just to silence conservatives. It was also to silence people like us who are critical of the war effort in Ukraine. Or people like Scott Ritter. But the scene was a pleasure to watch, wholly meritless. The complete interview is worth your time, but one moment in particular had me hoping a lawmaker, or maybe 200, had tuned in. After noting several errors Taibbi had made in the Twitter files rollout, Hasan posted a fundamental question. He asked if Taibbi, what are those errors, Jahan? You're not going to even talk about what they are. What are these fundamental errors that Matt Taibbi made? They're such big errors that we don't even have to mention what they are, I guess. He asked if Taibbi would like to criticize Twitter owner Elon Musk, who has talked about fomenting coups. Yeah, like MSNBC has never talked about fomenting coups or spread regime change propaganda, you moron. being an American journalist on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we know Elon Musk sucks. Taibbi had been asked to appear on Hassan's show to discuss the suppression of anti-establishment voices, but he had virtually nothing to say on the matter when it came time to put up or shut up. So the whole tone of this article is just Mehdi Hassan's the man, fuck Matt Taibbi for releasing these real files that revealed that the government was influencing what goes on at Twitter and how they moderate content on Twitter the same way they've been doing on TikTok. Right? And we know this. There's proof of this. There are leaked documents that Taibbi and others gave us. You can also look at the Mint Press News reporting on this and Alan McLeod's journalism. But these people like Mehdi, these corporate journalists, these corporate stooges, and people like Jahan, who are paid by MSNBC to be liberal establishment shills, are mad that people are doing real journalism. That people are actually calling out censorship and government control of social media institutions. So he's just going to try and make Taibbi look stupid and nitpick everything that he's ever done on this segment.
Would you like to criticize Musk now?
No.
So, and also notice how this has nothing to do with the Twitter files. Why aren't we talking about the documents that Taibbi released, Mr. Jones? These documents that you said are riddled with errors. Why aren't we talking about those errors? Why are we asking him to give us his own personal moral feelings about Elon Musk and then saying that that proves the Twitter files aren't even worth looking at? You guys are running interference for government censorship while you pretend to be journalists, and it's one of the most disgusting things I have ever witnessed with my two eyes on this planet. You have no principles. You should be ashamed of yourself. There is jello where your spine should be, Mehdi Hassan and Jahan Jones. You disgusting cowards. I'm sorry, but it's so absurd. These guys who sell out to the establishment and then attack anybody who dares to criticize the establishment. It is so disgusting, and it's the opposite of what journalism is supposed to be.
No, I don't particularly want to. I
Doesn't have anything to do with the Twitter files.
didn't criticize them really before, and I think that what the Twitter files are is a step in the right direction.
But it's the same Twitter that he's running right now.
I disagree with him. If you want to ask, I think.
Understood, Matt. Well, I'll ask you a specific one.
No.
It's not in bad faith, Matt. Sorry. You say that Twitter. Hold on. Let me finish.
Someone says Mehdi Hassan is a sellout. Absolutely. I used to watch this guy. And that's what pisses me off so bad too, right? Is I used to watch this guy and read his stuff on The Intercept, and he used to be good. He used to go after people like himself who are corporate stooges for MSNBC. But he saw where the money was, and he ran right towards it like a spineless coward. A spineless coward who when I was in college or high school, I used to look up to and read from. And now I see him selling out, working for this corporate media outlet and attacking anybody who dares to do real journalism. And it's like, wow, look how far you've fallen. And people know it pisses me off. I had job offers with the Biden campaign and with establishment political jobs or political institutions out of college. And I turned them down to do this and be poor, but actually be able to believe what I say and have conviction and have a spine and stand up against the censoring, murderous, imperialist establishment that Mehdi Hassan used to say he was against. That's worth all the money in the world to me, right? I'll freaking die of starvation because I'm too poor to buy food before I sell out my principles and work for MSNBC like Mehdi. So then when I see people like him who have done the opposite, who have abandoned their anti-imperialist and anti-censorship principles to run interference for the U.S. government and for MSNBC, it makes me sick to my stomach.
Finish my question. You're saying that he's good for Twitter and good for speech. I'm saying he's using Twitter to help one of the most right-wing governments in the world censor speech. I will criticize that. Will you?
I have to look at the story first. I'm not looking at it now.
Hold on. I posted the story 2 weeks ago. You tweeted at me.
I don't watch the Mehdi Hassan show.
Yeah. he actually wants to read this article. He wants to actually look at this article that Mehdi wants him to comment on. That has nothing to do with the Twitter files. What a faceplant for Matt Taibbi, as Jahan Jones called it. What a faceplant, because he actually wanted to read this article before commenting on it.
You do, actually you do, because you tweeted at me saying, invite me on the show and I'll tell you my views. Here you are.
No,
what is your view? There it is. There it is. Look.
So,
yeah, and you said,
Mehdi, shut the hell up and let him finish.
Look, we'll read your words. Why don't you invite me on your show to talk about it, since you're so absolutely sure of what I'll say? You're right, I'm not sure. What is your view on Musk working with Modi to censor speech?
That's what you ask him about the particulars about it, but listen.
That's not what the Twitter files have to do with. So he's asking him about something totally unrelated to the subject of discussion. Taibbi says I would have to look into it and actually look at the things you're talking about or question Elon Musk about it. And then these MSNBC establishment hacks like Jahan Jones publish articles, Mehdi Hasan destroys Matt Taibbi, proves that the Twitter files are a bunch of bullshit and that the government totally wasn't censoring people who are against the murderous proxy war in Ukraine. No, that's not what I'm watching right now. I'm watching Mehdi Hasan ask this real journalist about an article or a story that he hasn't read up on, and then saying, oh, you idiot, you don't even have an answer to my question. Boom, destroyed. MSNBC and Mehdi Hasan destroyed Matt Taibbi. No, you didn't. You didn't destroy anyone. You're just a finely tuned, well-oiled propaganda machine who's really good at doing shit like this. Posting a video where you don't ask him about the Twitter files and then using that to write an article with the headline, Matt Taibbi destroyed over the Twitter files. Mehdi Hasan lit the Twitter files on fire. They're talking about the Indian government, you dipshits. They're not even talking about the Twitter files. But they know that. They know that. They also know that most people only read the headlines of articles. So people see this headline, they're like, oh, I guess that Twitter file story was bullshit. MSNBC said it wasn't true. Mehdi Hasan said it wasn't true. He destroyed Matt Taibbi on his show. No, he didn't. If you actually read the article and actually look at what they're talking about, you see that they're liars. But it doesn't matter because a lot of people will only read the headlines. And this is how they're sending just mountains and mountains and mountains of hate at Matt Taibbi right now for saying things that are true, for doing actual journalism, which, as I've said multiple times, is supposed to be your job, Mehdi Hasan. You're supposed to be talking or speaking out against censorship and doing the kind of work that Matt Taibbi's doing. But you're not. You're a coward, so you're running interference for the imperialist U.S. government instead. And it's going to make me throw up into a bucket if I have to watch any more of it.
This came up the first time, I think it was Twitter Files number 6, when you said after this was a big one that we had done about the relationship between Twitter, the FBI, and the DHS. And as that story came out, you were giving me a hard time about tweeting through it, I think was the quote. Essentially, You said, you don't, so essentially, you're arguing that this information was not in the public interest, that I somehow shouldn't have done this story that I'd worked hard on because Elon Musk tweeted something? You don't think that story
was he banned journalists? I think hold on, Matt. If you're doing a story,
I just muted myself. He just nailed your ass, Mehdi. That's exactly what it is. You're using Elon Musk, who we all hate here, Midwestern Marx fans, everyone in my chat, and me included. I just did a 45-minute segment about how Elon Musk sucks. But you're trying to say Elon Musk sucks. You won't condemn his connection with India. Therefore, these files that you leaked and reported on, where the FBI is telling Twitter what they can and can't post or what they have to censor, is not worth listening to, is wrong. Doesn't make any sense. It's mind-numbingly stupid, but that's how MSNBC operates. That, and then, of course, they publish a million articles with the headline, Twitter files go up in flames. Mehdi Hasan destroys the Twitter files. No, you didn't.
About free speech on Twitter, and the head of Twitter bans journalists. Yeah, I think most people, by the way, Barry Weiss, your partner in crime on that, your colleague, your reporter, sorry for that euphemism, your reporting colleague, she actually did call him out. So it's weird that Barry Weiss had more integrity on that, some might argue, your critics might say, than you did.
Dude, that's not even what he's... Why does he have to comment on a story that's not related to FBI connection to Twitter? He reports on FBI connection to Twitter, and you're like, oh, well, you won't call out Elon Musk for his connection to India. Maybe he would. He told you he hasn't read the story. He doesn't know the connection between Elon Musk and Narendra Modi. If he did, I bet you he would comment on it, because I followed Matt Taibbi for a long time. And he tends to do very good journalism where he calls out bullshit on either side. Unlike Mehdi, who is a simp to the Democratic Party and the Democratic establishment, who will smear in the most vile and untruthful way, like this, anybody who's doing real journalism, real anti-establishment work. So this was just so disgusting to read. Like, this just filled me with rage when I saw it. And because I was looking into the Twitter files, right? And taking or just reading about it. And then I kept running into articles like this that wouldn't give you a single hint of information other than that Matt Taibbi's evil and he shouldn't be trusted. So literally running interference for the FBI. Then you see someone like Mehdi Hassan, who you used to respect, doing it, and it's just so gross. But of course, there's no comment section, right? There's nowhere where I can be like, here's why this video doesn't make any sense to me. Or I wish you would have actually asked Matt Taibbi about the Twitter files, not just asked him about some unrelated story having to do with Elon Musk so you can smear him as a liar. There's no comment section because MSNBC knows everybody would shit on them in their comments. CNN knows. Look at CNN's freaking YouTube channel when they post just about anything. It's a bunch of people calling them out for being blatant liars and hypocrites. Nobody listens to this stuff except the liberal intelligentsia and people who are deep, deep, deep within the Democratic Party and feel some sense of loyalty to it. Professional managerial class people. They know that everybody would be dunking on them in their comments if they had a comment section, so they don't. Midwestern Marx does, though. Taibbi's highly public faceplant. Gross. And then lawmakers who ignore this risk looking just as ridiculous as Taibbi. So they're trying to flip it. They're saying Matt Taibbi's in favor of censorship. He's just in favor of it when Elon does it. Or they're trying to flip it here. They're saying that TikTok was banning people who were critical of the Chinese government's treatment of Uyghurs, which is not true. TikTok was banning people like me who were calling out the U.S. government's lies about Uyghurs, but they're trying to flip it and say these people who are listening to the Twitter files are the real ones who are anti-free speech or the real ones in favor of censorship, which is what I was saying before we started this segment. Anytime they're doing censorship, they say it's them combating misinformation and protecting democracy. They try and invert the reality. So that was wild. But that being said, I don't think Elon Musk is this hero of free speech. And to the extent that Matt Taibbi feels he is the hero of free speech, I disagree with him. Because he's banned, I mean, the most obvious one and the one that was out in the open for everyone to see, which I reported on TikTok quite a bit, was Elon's jet. This account posting where Elon's private jet was going. Elon banned the account and then offered, when everybody was like, hey, I thought you were going to protect free speech, but you're banning accounts who are critical of you? That seems pretty hypocritical. You're acting like a dictator or a tyrant. So he didn't ban the account. Then he offered the guy $5,000 under the table to delete the account. When the guy refused, then Elon deleted the account. Right? So there absolutely is still censorship on Twitter. Scott Ritter still doesn't have a Twitter account. Great critic of the Ukraine proxy war. And now Musk has hired as the CEO of Twitter someone from the same ilk as these MSNBC journalists like Mehdi Hassan and Jahan Jones. I don't know if that's how you pronounce John Jones's name. I'm going to keep calling him Jahan because I don't respect him enough to learn his actual name. But Musk is hiring someone from this democratic liberal establishment, from the pro-proxy war establishment to control content on Twitter. So it's not like this is one of the good capitalists who's going to bring free speech and look out for the working class. As I said earlier in our segment about Musk, he only cares about profit and surplus value while pretending to be altruistic. Pretending, oh, I'm just in it for free speech and because it's such an important part of our democracy and I just want to protect our sacred democracy by buying Twitter, right? That has nothing to do with it. The debacle, the story about how he ended up actually buying Twitter is pretty long and interesting, but ultimately he's looking out for himself. He's looking out for his own status, his own profit, his own power. And the idea that he's going to act altruistically and allow full freedom of speech on Twitter is ridiculous, and it's been proven wrong by history. And now this is the newest step in that direction, hiring someone from the pro-censorship democratic establishment to manage Twitter. Almost as ridiculous as TikTok straight up hiring NATO operatives and former State Department officials to manage their content, as they claim China, as the US government claims China is running TikTok. China is banning all of these TikTok accounts or controlling the content on TikTok. Meanwhile, there are NATO operatives running TikTok, managing their content. Oh, the world of censorship we live in today, folks, is getting worse. These online environments that we all operate within are becoming more and more a battleground for class struggle and struggle between the empire and the anti-imperialists. And it's no doubt that they're trying to censor us more and more and more. And as we said in our book launch event, in a discussion with Gabriel Rockhill, Alan Freeman, Radhika Desai, all these folks, pretty much every socialist uprising, or a lot of the most famous communist or working class uprisings, happened at a time of great censorship, happened at a time when they were making it communist and socialist organizing illegal, when the police were going into people's homes and beating them or arresting them or torturing them for being communists. Like I said, times when it was explicitly illegal, which we're moving towards now with the Restrict Act, which would allow the government to put people in jail for 20 years for sharing information that they deem a national security threat, any information they deem a national security threat, and the horrors of socialism bill that they signed, condemning the horrors of socialism, because that's the most pressing thing in our country right now, condemning the horrors of socialism as people can't pay their rent or their utilities, and there's an inflation crisis. Glad Congress has their priorities straight, but we're moving closer towards straight up censorship. And of course, things like the Twitter files, where the U.S. intelligence agencies are deeply involved in controlling social media sites. We're moving towards a time of great censorship, but times of great censorship are often times of revolution, often times of class struggle, times where people see what their government is doing. They see what their ruling class is doing. They see these people like Mehdi Hassan and the corporations who write his checks for the disgusting liars that they are. And they get organized and overthrow the government, which is exactly what we're going to do here at Midwestern Marx in a video game, non-violently, of course. So yeah, that's all I got on Elon Musk and the Twitter files. I'm interested to read the chat here and see if people have any comments about the Twitter files or things that were. I could never have imagined that there wouldn't be free speech on the internet. Remember SOPA? Remember when everyone was freaking out over SOPA and saying this could be the end of free speech as we know it? But that was just one step in this direction, one step in the corporate consolidation and control of online speech. It's just been a process of development where corporations have, closed their claws around the social media sites and these places where people meet to communicate and share ideas freely. But I suppose we should have expected it, Oh, I forget we got a super chat. Thank you very much. What is that currency? I gotta look it up. Sorry. Turkish lira. Very cool. Thank you so much. Love to get the support from Turkey. I don't know if we've had any support from Turkey thus far. Very cool. This is my first time joining your live stream, but I've been watching Midwestern Marks nonstop recently. The way you educate and inspire is so important. Just wanted to say hi and thank you. Well, thank you so much, Ilana. We're very, very, very happy to have you. We love having comrades internationally who join our stream and communicate with us and teach us and learn from us and all that good stuff. So thank you so much, and thank you for the financial contribution to our project. I promise we will utilize it wisely. And again, the financial contributions from people like Lana are the reason we're able to do what we're able to do here at Midwestern Marks. There's the reason we're able to do our more professional print projects like this, our more educational projects. I mean, everything we do is educational, but obviously these streams are also aimed at entertainment. The books are aimed at entertainment too, but there's a lot of knowledge packed into those books, and that would be impossible without our financial supporters. So thank you all very much. And Carlos's book is now available at patreon.com/MidwesternMarks via ebook if people are interested. For $10 Patreon supporters. Popping in to say hi. Hi, Sam. How's it going? I enjoyed the book launch, but man, those disruptors were annoying. I feel bad for Carlos, but I am appreciative to the Midwestern Marks mods and community for rooting them out. Back to it. Very cool. Thank you so much, Sam. Thanks for being a YouTube member. Sam's a YouTube member, which is why he has that little symbol next to his name. And thank you for your constant contributions to Midwestern Marks. Yeah, there was actually so for those who don't know, we did a book launch for Carlos's new book, The Purity Fetish and the Crisis of Western Marxism. And there was this libertarian with over 100,000 subscribers who didn't have any more stream viewers than us, which is hilarious that she had like 3-4 times the amount of subscribers and not more viewers than us. Libertarian L, as usual. But she was live streaming our book launch just so that she could send, or some people said that she told people in her audience not to go harass us, but people in her audience were constantly harassing the chat, and then we would block them, and they would change their names and change their profile picture to look like regulars in the Midwestern Marks chat so they could come back and spread hatred and spread nonsense and very, 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 very few real arguments said by these libertarian folks. But they stayed. Some of the trolls and this lady live streaming the book launch stayed for like the whole 3 hours. I'm like, get a life. Like, we're trying to organize something real, right? We're trying to talk to people about how we can create a better world, how we can move forward, how we can alleviate the contradictions in our current society. And that's what we spend 3 hours of our time doing. Libertarians spend 3 hours of their time just watching us and trying to shit on it and sabotage it and offer no real arguments. But just talk about how Marxism evil, killed 1 million people, blah, 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 the most childish arguments. And it's just like a childish organizing strategy. Like, I could never, ever, ever see a Marxist doing that. Maybe Voosh, but he's not a Marxist. Like, imagine if I did a stream where we were just watching someone else's stream, a libertarian stream, for 3 hours and trying to sabotage it. And I was like, we're doing a good thing right now. We're doing a lot of really good political organizing. Pat myself on the back because we're attacking this libertarian stream. Like, I don't care if libertarians have a stream. I think what they're saying is probably bullshit. And I might do a stream responding to it and engaging with their arguments to prove why Marxist arguments are more correct. But I'm not going to try and sabotage their stream, or I'm not going to spend 3 freaking hours watching it. I have better things to do. But apparently libertarians and even libertarian doctors don't have anything better to do because that person had PhD in their name. Person who spent 3 hours sabotaging us. Wow, what a bunch of freaks. I know, right? And there were people who were still in there 3 hours later, like the same people leaving comments. I was like, and making new accounts so they could comment. I'm like, please, like, at this point, I'm worried about you. Like, please find some hobbies. Pick up bocce ball. Pick up swimming. You're spending too much time online. You just spent 3 hours trying to sabotage the stream from some people who you don't like who are trying to make the world a better place. Please go do something for your own health. Same with the people who sabotaged our Discord And same thing, patting themselves on the back. Look at all this political activism we did. We sabotaged the organization that's trying to make the world a better place and trying to bring about a true democratic and socialist system. We're the real socialists. We're the good guys. Like, please go do something. Please read a book. Please go play some baseball. Please meet up with friends. Because you think that sabotaging a Discord server is worth hours and hours and hours and hours of your time, and that's praxis, that's what's going to bring about revolution. You need to log off the internet. I have nothing else to say. Ironically boosting you. That's the other thing too. That's what I said. I'm like, thanks for all the free comments and free engagement. Now we're going to get a lot more views. Play guitar. I would, but it's out of tune. It's out of tune. I can tune it quick. We can do a quick guitar break. And you get a load of this college professor talking about Lenin. Video's an hour long. Okay. I have some videos already planned for today. So I don't know if we'll get to that today, but obviously I'll put it in on the back burner. By the way, I was talking about earlier how $1 Patreon members can join our Discord forever, and we'll never kick you out of the Discord if you give us $1 on Patreon once.
Okay.
And if you join our Discord, there's a channel where you can recommend things for me to react to. So you can send stories, you can send videos, you can send whatever you want. And I react to most of them, I would say, because a lot of them are really good. It's from members of the audience who regularly watch the show, so they kind of know what we like to react to, what we like to talk about. And they usually suggest videos that a lot of people would be interested in hearing about. So if you want to get my attention and get me to react to something specific, the best thing that you can do, other than be a Midwestern Marx moderator like Jacob, Ware Pilgrim, and Cobra, is to join the Midwestern Marx Discord. I just wish I could clone myself to interact with all of you and talk about everything. Oh, also, Patreon members are going to have first access to the Midwestern Marx class that Noah is running and teaching. Carlos and I are both going to be there discussing things, learning along with you. So it's going to be a class where we take 30 people into a Zoom chat and teach them Marxist theory in real time. So we'll be able to answer your questions. We'll be able to interact with you. We'll be able to build relationships. We'll be able to help you guys find organizations in your area where you can share the knowledge that we'll be learning together. It's really what I feel like we should be doing as an organization. One of the best and most useful places we can put our efforts as far as organizing an actual revolution and political uprising is running these classes. So Patreon members will have first access to that. Patreon.com/MidwesternMarx. Really, really excited. Sam Dixon's going to be there, I know. Jacob, I would love for you to be there if you can, because I know you've been reading a whole bunch lately. So yeah, that'll be posted on Patreon, and then we'll let a few other lucky people in. I believe JB from the Revolutionary Blackout Network will be there as well. I believe he's going to be taking the class. So I know all of y'all love JB as much as I do. He's a very well-liked figure over here in the Midwestern Marx audience. So if you want to hang out with JB and learn theory with him, join the Midwestern Marx Patreon. I can't promise that patrons will all get in, but well, I've already promised Sam Dixon a spot, but that's because he's given like his life savings to Midwestern Marx. Just kidding. I'd let him in anyways because he's the man. All right, time for our guitar interlude. How unprepared of me to not have my guitar tuned. How unprepared I am. Come on. I'm getting closer to where I could tune it without the app. Like the app on my phone, but I'm not there yet. All right, what do you guys want to hear? What should we hear? I'm still learning about all these new figures, programs, and outlets. Who is JB and Revolutionary Blackout? RBN, Revolutionary Blackout Network, is a collective that we are closely allied with here at Midwestern Marx. They're deeply involved in organizing. Some of them are in Detroit, I know, so they're technically Midwest. And they do anti-imperialist journalism and streams on YouTube. Very similar content to us, probably slightly less theory-based and slightly more political. Like, they keep a lot closer tabs than I do on what's going on in Washington, you know, with AOC and blah, blah, blah. So they're very useful for us to ally with because they cover stuff that we don't. And yeah, JB is a member of RBN, whose show I go on all the time and who comes on our show. And he's just awesome. Woo! I learned to play Tall Buildings, which is one of the songs that someone recommended to me on stream once, but I don't know if I remember how to play it now. It's been a little while since I've practiced. The whole squad in Congress sucks. I agree, Moses. Jimmy, no, thank you so much for the $10. Never get to catch a live stream. Well, I'm glad you got to be here today, but I watch everything. Love the book. Thank you for doing what you do. Wow, thank you so much, Jimmy. Really appreciate the $10, the financial support, and even more than that, I appreciate that you watch everything. That means a ton. We put a lot of work into our content, obviously, so to have people like you who engage with it and utilize it is really great. I love to hear it. Love to hear it. Damn, just started learning guitar. If you're good, I'm going to get jealous. I'm not that good. Shoot. At various points in my life, I'm better at guitar than at other points in my life because sometimes I practice more than other times. But yeah, actually, one more song. One more for the homies. There we go. Fast car. I have not been practicing guitar as much lately, but John Frusciante, yeah, you bet. Sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick. I wish I could actually hop on stream and have a guitar duet with you, comrade. Well, actually, speaking of our Discord, which you can join through the Patreon, We're going to be taking Discord calls on stream starting sometime this week. It's already set up. We just have to test it. I mean, I would have done it for this stream, but I still have to test it with Red Chilean, our buddy. So, but I will be testing it either today or tomorrow, making sure everything works, and then we'll be taking calls on stream. So I'll be able to chat with you guys. I'll be able to do debates. I'll be able to have Vaush on stream every day and just talk to him. You know, he's read all the theory, so he should be able to explain it all to me. So yeah, can't wait. Cannot wait. That was sarcasm about Vaush, by the way. But the part about taking calls is not. That part is true. So soon I'll have to have you on and we can do a duet, man. That would be awesome. It's hard to sync audio from across the stream. That's true. That's true. The song, Sometimes I Rhyme Slow, Sometimes I Rhyme Quick, had that guitar beat. Oh, gotcha. I don't know if I've heard that song. Vaush should come to the school, LMAO. Yes, he should. He should. He should learn some things. All right, I really quickly got to run to the bathroom, y'all. For intermission, I'll play my brother wrestling since I always play me. Here's Zeke. This is him wrestling, who was the #1 guy in the country at the time. Oh, of course it's going to lag. Of course it is. Try this one. This guy's not #1 in the country. Different video. BRB. Why does Matt Boss always lag? Every website or app that's designed specifically for wrestling just sucks so bad. Like, wrestlers have just not figured out computer programming yet, or even the internet. And all their apps are just laggy and like technologically just needs to be improved in so many ways. They're just so fast they look still. Yeah, that's what was happening. I wish. It's from a 90s rap group, Nice and Smooth. Maybe we could get Kyle Kalinske and the Similar Guys. That would be wild if we got Kyle Kalinske to join a freaking class about Marxism. How incredible. I've read all the theory too. Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, and Mao would vote for Biden. Yeah, you're right. I just rewatched that video the other day. I think Jacob posted it on TikTok, actually. Yeah. They're not silencing conservatives at all. They're signal boosting conservatives. Yeah, that's what the MSNBC types, the liberal pro-censorship types say. They say we're only censoring conservatives who are spreading misinformation. But they'll boost any conservative who's pro-proxy war, right? Who's anti-Trump and pro-liberal establishment, pro-military industrial complex, pro-NATO. Those conservative voices get signal boosted. What they don't like is the handful of conservative voices, people like Tucker Carlson, who are critical of the NATO proxy war, who are critical of what the U.S. empire is doing, and Marxists, leftists, socialists, independent journalists who are against the Ukraine proxy war, who are being smeared as conservatives, who are being called conservatives by these people like Jahan Jones and Joanne Reed and liberal establishment types who call anyone that they don't like a Trump supporter and a conservative and a fascist or whatever the hell. I'm curious, why aren't there many leftists who are muscular and athletic like you? Most of those people are on the right. I don't know. I think it has to do with like personal responsibility. Like people like that idea, but it's like read Lenin, dude. Read about socialist discipline, like, which is partially, you know, the CIA has infiltrated the left to a certain degree and made it out to be a certain thing, made it out to be, you know, a certain type of social or cultural group where jocks aren't allowed or whatever. But I talk about it all the time. Like there's a dialectic between discipline and freedom, right? If you want to have freedom in your life, you need to be somewhat disciplined. You can't just be eating garbage all the time and never exercising, because your body is going to deteriorate and you're not going to have the freedom to do the things you love, right? There's nothing, there's discipline that we need. And within socialist organizations, right? Being disciplined, going with the party line and not just speaking out erratically all the time, and showing up to work, showing up on time to events. Henry Winston was big on that. There's discipline that's needed within the leftist or socialist movement. And, you know, that could be related to physical discipline and having muscles, or just being physically fit. But I don't know. Maybe the right just appeals to people like that more. That's what I feel like. I feel like we just need to appeal to everyone more. There's also the fact that, like, if you're used to being in like jock social groups or sports type social groups, there's people on the left who will just be waiting to cancel you, who will be waiting to jump down your throat and organize a hate mob to attack you. That's like a good portion of the people on the left are just really terminally online, super angry people who form Twitter mobs or do things like infiltrate the Midwestern Marx Discord server so they can sabotage it. Right? This is something I've noticed ever since I've been doing online political activism, is there's been a large contingent of rad libs, either liberals or people calling themselves Marxist, socialists, or leftists, but who actually have all the positions of liberals, who are just waiting for me to slip up so they can attack me and be like, see, I told you all these cis white men can't be trusted. Like, not everyone wants to put up with that. Not everyone wants to deal with that. A lot of people just like, okay, I guess I'm not going to go be a leftist anymore. I'm not going to be a socialist anymore. It's clearly not for me. And people get mad when you say that, because it's like, obviously straight white dudes are not the most historically oppressed in America by any means. I mean, we've historically been at the top of the food chain and, you know, making up huge percentages of the ruling class. But specifically within the modern contemporary left itself and the online left today, there is like a tendency to look at people like me and just be like, he's white and he has muscles. No, he's not a real leftist. Let's sabotage his Discord server and tell everyone he's a misogynist. Maybe that's because sports is a male-oriented thing. Kind of. Not really anymore, though. Not in wrestling, anyways. I see more about the girls wrestling nowadays than the men's. Yeah, it could be. Could be. I concur that discipline is important. I agree. Swilitarian. Yeah, that's what we need. Swilitarian. Let's start promoting that. That's the aesthetic assigned to the left by the corporate state. Exactly. Yeah, that's the best way to explain it, Marxist saw. Thank you. Most conservatives have huge beer bellies and high cholesterol. I never met a muscular capitalist. That's true. Yeah, and all the capitalists look like worms. They're all just like super pale, and you can tell that they've never worked a day in their lives. So it could just be an aesthetic that, you know, the left is portrayed as being like this by the corporate media, which is aided by leftist infiltration by the CIA and other intelligence agencies, blah, blah, blah. So let's talk about, I know I already did a Kyle Kalinske video today, but I want to do another one because it expands upon.
So the other day, Steven Crowder.
It expands upon the Steven Crowder stuff we were talking about the other day, where Steven Crowder, after getting caught being abusive towards his wife, was basically arguing for the peak patriarchy, the highest form of patriarchy, where his wife has to be subservient to him, monogamous with him, and do all the domestic labor, all the housework and child rearing for him. But then she's not allowed to leave him. She's not allowed to dissolve the marriage. He wants the state of Texas to prevent her from leaving him. So that would be the peak form of patriarchy, as well as if he was like cheating on her and keeping other wives, but forcing her to stay in the home. That would be like peak patriarchy, but he's one step down from that we know of. He just wants the state to prevent his wife from being able to dissolve the marriage, which is the highest form of monogamy and patriarchy that Ingalls talks about in his book, Origins of the Family, Private Property, and the State. So we talked about this and used Steven Crowder and his controversy as a jumping off point to talk about Ingalls' origins and to talk about the Marxist view of the family and marriage. And it's been a little bit since I watched this video, so I don't remember exactly how it relates, but it relates to all those same topics, and Kyle adds some analysis that I didn't add, so should be worth a watch. Let's go. I'm going to go grab a glass of water, but I promise I'll be listening.
So the other day, Steven Crowder responded to that video of him basically verbally and emotionally abusing his wife. You guys can go back and check out the segment. You know the deal. She was pregnant. She wanted to take the car to go get groceries. He basically is like, you're not doing that. I'm not allowing you to do that. You need to do your wifely duties. You need to show discipline and respect. You've boxed me in here. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to see my friends. And I mean, it's insane. First of all, you should have 2 cars at least. You're a multimillionaire. Second of all, it's like he's just on a power trip. He's just like he's a prick, right? Like he's just a prick. He likes to control people. That's very clear. All the reporting that has come out since then has proven that. You have people who've worked with him for years, who've been loyal to him for years, who now come out and say, yeah, this guy is terrible. Well, one of the things he said when responding to his wife, he implied multiple times like, hey, in the state of Texas, they have no fault divorce. So she wanted to leave me and I didn't have any power to tell her no. But you got this sense from him like, I don't agree with that law. I would get rid of that law. That's what it felt like he was saying. He implied it like 2 or 3 times. Well, now we see the impact that stuff like this is having. So this is in Rolling Stone. The next front in the GOP's war on women. No fault divorce. Steven Crowder is part of a growing right-wing chorus calling for an end to modern divorce laws. Steven Crowder, the right-wing podcaster, is getting a divorce. Quote, no, this was not my choice, Crowder told his online audience last week. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore. In the state of Texas, that is completely permitted. Crowder's emphasis on the state of Texas makes it sound like the Lone Star State, Jesus. I'm a total moron. I don't know why any of you listening. Makes it sound like the loner state I said originally.
You're not a total moron, Kyle. You just need to actually read Marx.
Makes it sound like the boner state is an outlier, but all 50 states and the District of Columbia have no-fault divorce laws on the books. Laws that allow either party to walk away from an unhappy marriage without having to prove abuse, infidelity, or other misconduct in court. It was a hard-fought journey to get there. It took more than 4 decades to end fault-based divorce in America. California was the first state to eliminate it in 1969. New York didn't come around until 2010 is when New York came around. 2010. By the way, holy cow, this just sparked a memory for me. My parents got divorced before 2010 in New York. That means they're...
So in Texas, as I was saying, there are different stages of the patriarchy. And that no-fault divorce law was around till 2010, where you had to prove that there was some kind of fault before you dissolved the marriage. And this is something that Ingalls is talking about, back in the 1800s, saying that, there are places where the women can dissolve the marriage and where the men can dissolve the marriage. But as patriarchy develops and becomes dominant, the men will make it illegal for the women to dissolve the marriage, and they'll make it so they can have other wives, but the women can't have other men. And that's the highest form of patriarchy. And in Texas, they had that forever. Had that till freaking 2010. So really all that Steven Crowder is a conservative or capitalist ideologue arguing for the pinnacle of capitalism and capitalist patriarchy. There's a really, really great book called Why Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism by Kristen Godsey, where she looks at women's dating lives and women's sex lives and love lives, among other things, in the former Soviet countries, and then compares them to women in capitalist countries. And she finds all these differences, like women are actually having better relationships because they can leave the man, right? So if the man lives in this patriarchal society where women aren't allowed to dissolve the marriage, there's no incentive to be a good husband. They can just use the state and use state power to force their wife to stay with them. So a lot of women under the socialist countries where they could leave their husbands had better relationships because of that. Also, they were far less likely to be what we call a gold digger. They were far less likely to date a man or approach a man or stay with a man because he had a lot of money or because they became financially dependent upon them. So she says, Kristen Godsey says in the book, that men actually had to impress women with their merits, right? With being a good person, with being respectful, building a relationship, all the things that relationships should be based around, rather than just saying, I have a lot of money. If you date me or marry me, I'll be able to buy you a lot of things and you won't be financially insecure the rest of your life. So having the ability to dissolve marriages and then having economic stability, financial stability, because you would always have, the women would have a job for, offered by the state, and the state offered them free daycare and free education and things like this to take care of a lot of the domestic work. Women didn't have as many financial burdens, and they became far more likely to leave unhappy marriages. They became far more likely to divorce their husbands, which under capitalism, a lot of women cannot do, despite being unhappy in the relationship, because they become financially dependent upon their husbands. In the former Soviet countries, you didn't have these problems. So there were higher rates of happiness in marriage. And in the unhappy marriages, there were higher rates of divorce. The women were able to leave. But that's what Steven is digging his heels in against. No, I both want my wife to be entirely financially dependent upon me and the state to prevent her from leaving me when she wants to. It's like the book Why Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism come to life. It really is. Even the fact that like Crowder only allowed his wife to have one car so he could control her. That's like the kind of thing that Kristen Godsey is talking about in this book. Like if you have the state providing economic stability for women, you don't have to be dependent on your husband for a car or food or housing or any of the necessities. And it just offers all this freedom, and it forces men to be better husbands, better people, and more committed to the relationship because they can't just throw money at it or hope the state will prevent their wife from leaving them. Divorce is communism. Steven Crowder probably. Yes. Under communism, Steven Crowder. It's true, though. Under communism, Steven Crowder's wife would have left him 10 years ago. Fault divorces force people to come up with accusations in order to divorce. Yes. No fault divorce makes it a civil divorce possible. That's true as well. Good specific point about no fault divorce. Forced marriage is still a very big problem. Parents wrote their children off to be wed in a wealthy family. Yes, true. And there are marriages that aren't forced, but like we have a term gold digger for a reason. Like there are a lot of women who marry for financial stability. A ton of them, right? And you'd be lying if you said that wasn't a fact. Like even in my relationship, I would be dating my girlfriend even if she didn't have a single dollar, but we still got to think about that kind of stuff. Economic concerns are always at the forefront of our mind. And, if one of us had to move for a job, who knows if we'd be able to stay together? I don't know. So economic concerns affect and negatively affect our relationships in so many ways. And it's just so interesting to see Kristen Godsey in that book look at what dating was like, look at what relationships were like under socialist countries where you didn't have all these economic concerns, where women could put their kids in daycare and they didn't have to worry about paying exorbitant costs for it. And where women knew that they would have a job guaranteed to them even if they left their husband. Divorce is bourgeois behavior. No, no. No, read Why Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism. Read Origin of the Family, Private Property in the State. That's just saying that, I don't know. That's just saying that being like a traditional conservative type person is working class and anything else is bourgeois, which is a trend that I've seen lately online that doesn't make any sense to me. Hey, Eddie, Kyle made a video today reacting to the Marianne Williamson Hannity interview. Oh, interesting. Do you want to review it? Yeah, I'd definitely be down. Kyle who? Kalinske? I pretty much said everything I wanted to say about this. I just wanted to talk about that book. I got it for my sister, which is a strange book to get your sister. But I'm like, hey, it's not all about sex. It's also about like how women are prevented from climbing the career ladder, the corporate ladder, because they have to put children ahead of their careers, and how women are expected to do all the domestic labor, and, you know, why women are more easily able to leave unhappy marriages under socialist economies where they're economically secure. Divorce rates were lower in the USSR. I don't think that's true. Maybe, I don't know if she looks at the USSR. It might be the GDR in this. But even still, that wouldn't prove that the fact that, I mean, that might just prove that the relationships were more healthy and they were better from the jump. Versus the statistics that she uses for unhappy or for divorces, I think are related specifically to unhappy marriages. And more people in capitalist countries report staying in unhappy marriages versus they, in the GDR, they were honest, like I would just leave the marriage. But I'm pretty sure, I want to say the actual absolute divorce rates were still higher in the former socialist countries, though. I don't know. It's been a while since I've read the book. But divorce is not bourgeois, dude. That doesn't even make any sense. Where, I mean, you're prepared to debate, okay, where in Marxism, in any Marxist thinker, do they say divorce is bourgeois? I would love to see that. I don't think it exists, though. Divorce is bourgeois behavior historically and currently. The USSR had lower rates of divorce at all stages of comparative development. Okay, well, as I said, that doesn't really prove anything, but sure, divorce is bourgeois. It's bourgeois for Steven Crowder's husband to leave him when he's being verbally abusive and controlling every aspect of her life. No, I don't think it's bourgeois for working class women or any abused women to leave their husbands when they're in an unhappy marriage and they could be happier without their husband. Divorce is not freedom to separation of social relations. Sounds like somebody who's never been in an abusive relationship, like Steven Crowder's wife. And how is it a separation of social relations? It's a separation from the monogamous relationship that you're unhappy in, but then it allows you to go be with other people. Either search for other relationships or just spend more time with your friends rather than spending all your time dedicated to this one unhappy monogamous relationship. So to say it's a separation of social relations, it could be an increasing of social relations because you're leaving this one manipulative, abusive social relationship, which makes room and creates time for you to have all these other social relationships. And it makes it so you're not monogamous anymore. You're not married, so you can date other people and expand your social relations. I wish that we had the Discord chat set up. I would let you hop on stream and debate this because I know it's pretty much impossible to do a debate when you have to type and I have a microphone. But that's why I love when people come in and try and troll and be like, Marxism's stupid. You really think China is good? Like, you really want to talk shit to me right now? You have to type everything, and I have a microphone. I'm going to destroy you. Okay, where is this? Marianne and Sean Hannity.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Your boy's back, y'all.
Oh, man, I don't want to watch. Sean Hannity is such a freaking bourgeois ideologue, dude. Like, I used to say when Tucker was still with Fox News, I was like, you can listen to Tucker and you at least feel like he's giving you some kind of unique perspective. Like, you know, sometimes he lets the truth slip in there, and he was getting more and more truthful leading up to him getting fired, because that's what you're not allowed to do in American corporate media. You're not allowed to tell the truth. But Sean Hannity will literally, like, if Obama wore a pink suit, Sean Hannity would be like, why I never, what a disgrace to the office of president. He's wearing a pink suit. And then Trump could come out in the same pink suit, and Hannity would be like, wow, what a bold move. Trump makes this pink suit look so good. Like, whatever the Republicans are doing is good, and whatever the Democrats are doing is bad. That's Sean Hannity's politics, and he comes on his show every night and gets paid $1 million to say that, and then he just goes home and spends it all on McDonald's or whatever, and then he comes back the next day, Democrats bad, Republicans good, goes home, the next day, same thing. That's all Sean Hannity does. That's his life.
Y'all, your boy is back. So first of all, let me just say a massive thank you, big shout out to Mac, aka Good Politic Guy, who filled in for a few days on this channel here for me. Everybody go follow his Twitter. He spits fire on a regular basis. Again, it's Good Politic Guy. And go show him some love and subscribe to his YouTube channel, man. He started in this whole news and politics thing a little late. So the algorithm has definitely been screwing him from day one. But right now, he got just over 20,000 subs. Let's get this dude to 100,000.
What does that mean? The Good Politic Guy, his analysis was actually good. I thought it was even better than Kyle's analysis at points. But what does it mean he got started in the YouTube and news and politics thing a little late? Like, this has been a thing forever. Politics have always been around, and news and has always been around too. And there's going to be new commentators and political pundits and people who read the news and journalists years after us. You know, what does he mean to start? That doesn't make any sense, to start a little late. There's always going to be people starting. It doesn't mean you're late. The news and politics is always going to be a thing. Journalism's always going to be a thing. So don't be afraid to start if you're thinking about it. But
1999.
That was kind of a nitpicky point. It just didn't make any sense to me.
All right, so I want to show you guys some pictures. I tweeted this the other day. There's going to be roughly 4,312 pictures, but we don't have them yet. We only got like a little sneak peek and some teases from the photographer. And of course, we took some pictures on our phones. So I'll show you what I do have here for you. How gorgeous my now.
What is this? I thought I was watching Marianne Williamson on Hannity. Why am I only seeing Kyle Kalinske get married? This just makes me jealous. I love you, Crystal Ball. Just kidding. I'm going to marry Brianna Greyjoy one day.
So she accepted an invitation.
Kyle can do it. Anyone can. I just have to dye my hair and start piercing my ears. Although I don't know what they're going to say when I tell them to pierce my cauliflower ear. They might be like, sir, you're ugly and deformed. Leave.
To go on Hannity. Now, Hannity, nobody's naive here about Hannity. I'm not naive about Hannity. Marianne Williamson's not naive about Hannity. None of you guys are naive about Hannity. So, you know, it appears like she went into this saying, oh, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight. Like, I'm going to knuckle up. I'm going to be ready for it. And so we have their interview here. Let's watch, and then we'll break it down as we go.
All right, time for the Hannity Hot Seat. If you watch Joe Biden's re-election announcement video, you may have seen something very interesting at the end. Take a look at your screen and see what it says on the bottom. Paid for by the Democratic National Committee. So the DNC is all in for Biden, and they rigged the primary before it even starts. Remember, they're going to bypass New Hampshire, go straight to South Carolina. They're not even holding any debates, despite the fact that a majority of Democrats do not want Joe to run for a second term, but Joe isn't the only one running. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
So this fits perfectly within the Sean Hannity ethos, right? The Democrats aren't allowing RFK or Marianne Williamson on the debate stage. He'll call it out. He'll talk about how undemocratic this is, but only because it makes the Democratic Party look bad and look undemocratic. If this was something the GOP was doing, he'd be all for it. Actually, it would be interesting to see what he says about like Trump and DeSantis and them, and the upcoming Republican primary or the Republican primary in 2016, or people primarying Trump in 2020. It'd be interesting to see what he said about it and if he criticized the Republican Party at all. But I don't know. I don't follow Sean Hannity that closely. Like I said, he's just a mouthpiece.
Entered the race, by the way, and he's up to 19% in the polls. That's a pretty big number, I think. And author Marianne Williamson, she ran back in 2020. If you recall, she is back in the race, and she announced her campaign before Biden did, and she did it longer than 3 minutes and didn't have to tape it. And she's asking Joe Biden to debate her. And she joins us now from Washington, D.C. tonight, the Swamp. Marianne, how are you?
I'm fine.
So let me just pause here to point out that which is obvious, right? Any like positive attention given to Marianne or RFK by conservative media apparatus, it is because they're trying to do the divide and conquer game, right? It is because they're just trying to basically attack Biden by proxy. So
that's probably true too. Hannity's probably attacking the Democratic Party, but he also realizes this is a way to weaken Biden and sow dissent within the Democratic Party, which I didn't even think about. But if I was Marianne, I would freaking run towards that. I would capture that as much as possible. You know, if the conservatives are willing to give you a platform as long as you dunk on Biden, hey, that's easy. Maybe I should start doing a bunch of conservative YouTube shows or whatever. Kyle Kalinski's naive about the U.S. coup in Ukraine and other stuff. Yeah, that's why I have a whole series called Teaching Marxism to Kyle Kalinski, because he is very naive about a lot of that stuff. Although his foreign policy analysis was usually good, it's very sad to see how hard he dropped the ball on Ukraine. I held out hope that he might be good, but I think he still is critical of NATO and whatnot. But
the reason I say that, and a lot of you think that's super obvious, and it is super obvious, I don't want anybody to fall for the tricks. This is like politics 101.
Sorry, last thing here. And I reacted to Kyle taking the political compass test, I think. He once said he doesn't agree with from each according to their ability to each according to their needs. Yes, that's funny in itself. And I also remember his justification for that was that's a communist sentiment. I'm not a communist. That was his only argument. Like, just because it's communist, this is something that communists say, it's something you disagree with. That's not a real reason. And he's always, the facts and logic guy. And you have to back up everything you say with a coherent argument. Unless it's something that the communists say. Then I just don't agree because communism's scary. And if I come out as a communist, I'll lose my big, giant YouTube audience.
Type stuff, right?
Although he probably wouldn't. His YouTube audience probably wouldn't care. They probably trust him at this point.
It would be like if MSNBC had on, like, tried to pump up the person who's a challenger to Trump or DeSantis for that matter. The purpose is not because, hey, I principally agree with this person. The purpose is because anything I could do to create chaos on the other side. Now, that doesn't mean that some of the stuff he said there wasn't true. Some of the stuff he said there indeed was true. Like, the overwhelming majority of Americans don't want Joe Biden to run again. But I just want you to understand what the intentions are, because the intentions matter, because that's going to change how Marianne approaches this interview. Because Marianne is going to approach the interview now, and she's not going to want to be used as a useful idiot or a pawn to just, attack Biden by proxy just to take down Biden. She wants to come here to make her campaign be more viable, get more eyeballs, get her policy message out there, etc. So what she has to do is actually not an easy thing to do. It's a high wire balancing act for Marianne Williamson here, because you don't want to go into a Hannity interview and just agree with Hannity with all of his criticisms of Biden, whether they're true or not true. You don't want to do that at all. You want to go in there. You can criticize Biden when it's fair, but you also want to push back, not just against the Biden agenda, but also against Fox News and Sean Hannity and their ideology, which is even...
Yeah, Kyle, she should just tell the truth. Really, really hard to not be a partisan hack and just tell the truth. I think we get it, buddy.
going to start out in agreement with you. I think we'll disagree on other stuff. I think it would be fair for Joe Biden to debate you and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Why do you think he's not debating? And do you believe he's in a steep cognitive decline?
Well, I think in a democracy, what's important is that people have a right to see their options. I think this is an extremely important time in American history, and anyone who feels moved to run for president should have their say, and the voters should hear what they have to say. They should hear their agenda, and the voters should decide who they want to be president.
Okay, how about part two of my question? Do you believe he's in a major cognitive decline?
I'm not a doctor. I'm not somebody who is testing his brain. I think every American citizen has to look at the president and listen to the president.
Does he seem like some?
Notice how much he's cutting her off. He's going to keep doing this the entire interview. And by the way, it's so egregious. Even his own viewers, the Vanguard tweeted, like, here are some of the comments underneath this video right here. And a lot of them are like, geez, I'm no fan of Marianne, but Sean, let her finish a damn answer. Jesus Christ. And it's true.
That's how Sean Hannity is, dude. That's what he's the worst. Of all the Fox News hosts, he's the worst. It's like, quit talking about policy and tell me if you think that Biden's brain is melting porridge or not. It's like, yeah, everyone knows that, Sean. Who cares if Marianne Williamson admits that Biden's brain is melting porridge?
That has the strength and stamina and is articulate to be president?
You know, I wouldn't be running if I didn't think that I was a better candidate. I think I have the energy, and certainly I have the ideas that are better.
You got to answer my
question. Because I'm not going to come on Fox News and talk to you, Sean, and say something like that. I'm not going to.
He does. Why does she have to answer that stupid question? Everybody knows Biden's in cognitive decline, but Biden's not running the country, dude. Like, do you know how this shit works? I'm sure you do. It's the Democratic establishment running the country. Biden's just a puppet, and that's what he's been his entire freaking career. He's also been a gaffe machine his entire career. He's also said dumb and inappropriate stuff his entire career. So is he in cognitive decline? Probably. But I'm less concerned with that and more concerned with the fact that he's pushing us towards nuclear war, that he's allowing our country to crumble and allow all our jobs to be outsourced, our infrastructure to fall apart, while he continues to ship millions and millions of dollars to Ukrainian Nazis so they can buy weapons. That's what's important here. You big ding dong. No, Democrats stupid dumb. Democrats cognitive decline. You Democrats say other Democrat dumb and stupid and in cognitive decline. Say it. Say it. Say it. Say it. Say it, please.
I think every American can just.
Did you see his face there? He's like, we're caught. Our game is up. So look, credit to Marianne here, because if you just take the bait, in order for Marianne to win, she needs to win normie Democrats. The biggest swath in a Democratic primary is normie Democrats, right? That's almost tautologically true. But then you also have to win over, people who are moderates, independents, people who are left of normie Democrats. So in order to win, you can't alienate those people. So her line is like, of course I'm a better candidate than Joe Biden. Of course.
In order to win, you have to, get rid of the DNC and get rid of MSNBC and CNN and all these propaganda outlets that are just going to trash Marianne and boost Biden. I don't know. I'm so fed up with trying to work within the Democratic Party. Like, dude, it's like even when it looked like Bernie was going to win, and I remember this because I was working for his campaign in 2020, there were MSNBC analysts coming on and saying, well, Bernie might get more votes. He might get more votes than Joe Biden or Mayor Pete or whoever else, but this is a primary election. This is a party election, right? So technically the Democratic superdelegates can appoint whoever they want. Even if Bernie gets the Democratic support of the American people, the establishment elite, the Democratic Party elites can just pick who they want to be the nominee, because it's not a real election. It's a party election. They were already floating that idea, right? And I don't know if they would actually do that if someone like Marianne did somehow win, did somehow fight through the giant propaganda machine to defeat Biden. But that just goes to show how willing or how far they're willing to go and how much they're willing to lie to prevent anyone who's not from the establishment from winning. Which is why this isn't ever going to be a progressive or a left-wing party. It's a party that represents the interests of the military-industrial complex and finance capital. It's a bourgeois party, right? This hostile takeover of the Democratic Party that Kyle and the Justice Democrats have been trying for the last 10 years plus now has utterly failed. AOC is in Congress alongside Ilhan Omar, Bernie Sanders, and the rest of the squad doing nothing except saying that we need to support NATO, continue funneling arms and weapons to Ukraine, not ever bringing up any of the issues that are in the interests of the American working class, refusing to fight for Medicare for all because it might anger Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democratic Party. If you want change, if you want anti-imperialist, pro-working class change, you need to abandon the Democratic Party. It's never going to come from there. And to watch these guys still thinking, like, how do we do it? How do we find a way to take hold of this party and make it progressive? It's not going to happen, dude. Join the Communist Party.
He lost a step, but am I going to come on here and say he has dementia to your Fox News audience and throw red meat to the seal? Of course I'm not going to do that. I'm not here to play your game, Sean. Brilliant, because not only is she positioning herself, I'm different from Biden, I'm better from Biden, but also I know what you're doing, Fox News, and I'm not going to play that game. And Hannity's face was like, oh, so she's on to our tricks.
But if you believe it, you would tell us, would you?
My mind doesn't go into that. I don't believe that the energy is being demonstrated.
You should just say yes. Just fucking say yes. Yeah, he's in cognitive decline. He's a dumbass. His brain's coming out of his ears, but he's always been terrible. He wasn't in cognitive decline when he voted for the Iraq War or gave the eulogy at Strom Thurmond's funeral, segregationist, or argued that people should be locked in jail for years for nonviolent drug offenses. He was perfectly cognitively healthy then. He's been an establishment pro-war, imperialist, pro-corporate Democrat his entire life, and that's why I'm running against him. Say that.
That I believe will be necessary in order to take on either DeSantis or Trump in 2024.
You said that we need an economic U-turn in this country.
Yes.
What system economically do you support? I'm a capitalist. I believe in limited government, more freedom, lower taxes.
He's such a caricature, man. He's like a G.I. Joe doll that they stuck, like a Ken doll they stuck on air. It's just, he's like a puppet for big donors, with their hand up his ass, moving his mouth.
He really is, dude. That's all he is for the GOP and their big donors. But can't believe anyone on the left is so naive or masochistic to keep focusing on or voting for the Democrats. Agreed. I mean, we need to talk about RFK and do a whole stream about RFK. And if he's got a chance of beating Biden in the primary because he's been hypercritical of the U.S. proxy war in Ukraine and because he's connected to the political establishment a little bit, or people in Washington or people who have been following politics know who he is because of his family name, there's a good chance I go vote for him. So, if he's able to bust up the Democratic Party and shake things up, I'll go vote for him. Not that I think that's going to make the Democratic Party a revolutionary, pro-socialist, anti-imperialist party, but if there's an anti-imperialist candidate who's legitimately against nuclear war, who looks like he's going to win, I'll go vote for him. I don't care. It's not that much time out of my day. But yeah, I'm not going to pour all my effort and all my door knocking energy and stuff into trying to take over the Democratic Party like I did in 2020 with Bernie, because as you said, you would have to be masochistic or incredibly naive to watch what happened in the 2020 campaign with Bernie and still believe that the Democratic Party can be a progressive force or that we can take it over. I mean, the app that they used to count the votes was literally a donor to Pete Buttigieg in his campaign in Iowa. And then the app crashed when it looked like Bernie was going to win. Pete declared victory, which gives you a huge boost in the media. Iowa's the first state, so it's extremely important. Pete declared victory, and later we found out that Bernie got more votes, and Bernie was the winner, but this Shadow, the company who created the voting app was called Shadow, apparently crashed and didn't work the night of the election. So Pete got this huge media boost. Oh, Pete won. It's just the most nefarious shit ever. I shouldn't even get into the campaign because I'll go on forever. I'll never stop talking about the ways that the Democratic Party screwed us over at every turn. And a lot of staffers within the Bernie campaign who are just trying to use their position within that campaign to launch themselves into a higher position in politics, and the Democratic establishment screwed us over. I could talk about that, but I've talked about it a million times. Just please stop trusting the Democratic Party or thinking that it's going to be some force for the working class. It is completely co-opted by the military-industrial complex.
I believe in limited government, lower taxes, more freedom. Oh, really? You believe in more freedom? So you're in favor of people transitioning if they're trans? You're in favor of ending the drug war because, hey, it's a matter of freedom. Put in your body whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else. Well, that's right. You don't believe in those things. You don't believe in those things at all. And when he says lower taxes, by the way, he means like the Trump tax cuts where 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. He doesn't mean cut taxes for regular people. But he's like, oh, Marianne, I'm a capitalist. What are you?
Energy independence. What do you want?
You know, I think our capitalist system has lost some of its soul over the last 50 years. I believe that capitalism, you know, Adam Smith, who is the main architect of free market capitalism, said that.
Oh, my God. How does my dumbass, I mean, I guess I have my major undergraduate degree in political science, but I'm still just a dumb wrestler guy. How do I know more about political theory than all these people? Capitalism has lost its soul. No, the soul of capitalism is exploitation, which leads to the accumulation of capital and the concentration of capital in fewer and fewer hands. That's exactly why we're in the spot we're in today. Capitalism in its soul, weird crystal hippie lady, is working just how it's supposed to. Capitalism's soul is accumulation and exploitation and imperialism. That's the soul of capitalism. And the reason conditions for working people have gotten worse and worse and worse as our government just becomes more corrupt and ships more money over to wars abroad is because capitalism is working just how it always has. And this is just capitalism at a certain stage of development. Neoliberal capitalism after years of developing and accumulating and concentrating wealth in fewer hands. And how capitalism is a system that developed on its own. Adam Smith was not the architect of it. He didn't create it. Capitalism developed out of feudalism because of advancements in production and because of revolutionary movements that allowed for the capitalist class, who were previously the merchant and manufacturing guild class, became more and more powerful as the Industrial Revolution happened and as machine production came about. And they overthrew the class of feudal landlords. They overthrew the aristocracy. And the capitalist class, through revolutions and class struggle, became the dominant economic class, and then capitalism spread from Europe to the rest of the world because that's how capitalism works. They have to constantly expand, constantly accumulate, which before capitalism has taken hold of the entire globe as it has now, leads to capitalism spreading across the entire globe. Then once it does that, the capitalists fight each other for control of the globe, which is what we call imperialism, the stage of capitalism that we had around 1917 when World War I was happening, which is where the capitalists went to war with each other to fight over the colonies, right? But capitalism was a system that emerged materially. It emerged out of feudalism, or like in the U.S., it emerged out of slavery in the South. We had to have a war that replaced the slave mode of production with capitalist mode of production. Adam Smith looked at the markets and looked at capitalism and made an analysis of it, which Marx critiqued and took a lot from, but ultimately destroyed. Marx more took Adam Smith's investigations and brought them to their logical conclusions. Said, here's where you're right, Adam, but here's where you're wrong, and here's where you didn't go far enough. And really brings classical economics to its conclusion, which is when neoclassical economics emerges, because the capitalists need a new way to say that their system is the best after Marx proved that it's not, which is something I wrote about in my new article about neoclassical economics on MidwesternMarx.com. But I digress. Adam Smith is not the architect of capitalism. You don't invent an economic system by writing about it in a book. Just like socialism will have to come about via class struggle of the working class against the capitalists. Capitalism came about via class struggle of the capitalists and peasants against the feudal landlords, or struggle of the northern capitalists and the slaves against the slave owners in the American South.
That free market capitalism cannot exist outside an ethical context. I think public policy has to have ethics. So
free market capitalism cannot exist outside of an ethical context. What does that mean? Free market capitalism cannot exist outside of an ethical context. I don't know what it means. I don't know. Does anyone know what it means? Is she saying that capitalism is ethical, or it's only ethical when the markets are free, or it cannot be ethical? There can be no ethical capitalism? I feel like that's what she's saying. But I don't know what she means by outside of an ethical context. What is an ethical context? And what does it mean to be outside of it? Free market, yeah, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean?
Capitalism said that free market capitalism cannot exist outside an ethical context. I think public policy has to have ethics. So I believe that the American people, our safety, our health, and our well-being should come before short-term profits for huge corporate entities. I believe that there are other stakeholders.
She's just so much smarter than him. It's unbelievable.
How? I don't know what she said didn't make any sense, though, really. I mean, yeah, she's smarter than Hannity, who's a stuffed doll for the Republican Party, or a Build-A-Bear doll that the Republican Party made to just repeat talking points on end. But I think she's saying that, free market capitalism cannot be ethical by itself. So we need ethical public policy in order to control capitalism and ultimately control the economy. I think that's what she was saying, which is a smart point, right? That's what social democrats have been arguing for forever. We need checks and balances. We need the government to make capitalism actually work, make it ethical, even though that's impossible because capitalism leads to accumulation and seizure of the state by the capitalist class, blah, 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 blah. But I think that's what she was saying. But then Kyle's like, she's so smart. Like, what she said there didn't really make sense, though.
He's doing like fortune cookie slogans, and she's giving like a master's dissertation.
No, a master's dissertation. She just said that Adam Smith was the architect, that he invented capitalism. Never mind. I'm gonna just let her go. It would, like, I don't want to be too harsh on her for saying the ethical context thing, because she's on live television, on cable news, millions of people watching this. I could see getting nervous and kind of messing up the phrasing, right? But then Kyle's just like, this genius level master's dissertation speech. Like, no, you're showing everyone that you've never read really, really genius level political theory, Kyle. Because if you read Marx's analysis of Adam Smith, you would be like, whoa, this is thorough and rigorous and scientific analysis that is slightly better than Marianne Williamson on Sean Hannity.
You're throwing out a lot of cliches. I want to dig down deep here. What do you think? I want, for example, lower taxes, more freedom, less government bureaucracy, and I want energy independence. I want borders secure. I want law and order. What do you want?
Okay, so let's go with each one. The first one, take each one at a time. The first one you said was lower taxes. I want lower taxes for middle class people.
I love how some of Sean Hannity's things that he wants aren't even like a policy, right? Just law and order. It's just some abstract thing that you could say that's anything. You know, for me, what's law and order? Having an actually functioning police force that actually serves the people, and, you know, investing in neighborhoods where there's a lot of crime, investing in education, investing in jobs, investing in infrastructure, investing in things that have been proven to bring people out of poverty and greatly decrease crime rates. So that could be law and order for me, but Hannity just means increased police budgets, not changing the police. In fact, maybe even militarizing them more. So it's these abstract things that could mean anything, which is typical Republican talking point stuff.
Higher taxes for people who have huge amounts of wealth and are living at the effect of public policies. How high? I want to see a wealth tax. I think people who, first of all, I think we should look. In 2017, we had a $2 trillion tax cut. 83 cents of every dollar went to the very richest Americans and the very
let's see how smart you are in the economy.
The middle class.
What percentage?
She's not letting him. He's not letting her answer. He's not letting her answer, and she's running circles around him here.
Income taxes to the bottom 50% of Americans pay. What percent?
It's not about the.
You guys should watch, if you want to see someone really get interrupted, watch Richard Wolff. He went on with Stuart Varney And Richard Wolff is, of course, giving Marxist analysis, which makes perfect sense. So Stuart Varney will not let him get a word in. He's just yelling like this in his English. No, no, no. You're a Marxist. You're stupid. You're a Marxist. Marxism's stupid. You're stupid for believing in Marxism. It's a religion. Richard Wolff is like trying to explain how capitalism works and how exploitation works. And Varney is just like having a panic attack. Why'd I let this guy on?
I'm not going to talk to you about the bottom middle class, the bottom half. I'm going to talk to you about the upper class, the 1%. So you asked me what I want to see. I want to see 50 million or more. I think people should pay an extra 2% in taxes. Wouldn't affect their day. And if someone has $1 billion, they should pay an extra 1%.
So you want to each American based on their need, from each American according to their ability.
Oh, Marianne, so you want higher taxes on the wealthy? You're Karl Marx. Come on, Sean. God, didn't this get...
If every American got what they put into the system, if every American was paid based on their actual ability, imagine where Sean Hannity would be.
Tired in like 1998. I think he came on air in 1996. By 1998, he had to be like, all right, I can't keep playing these gotcha political games on a daily basis where I have the IQ of a gnat. This has to get boring, doesn't it, Sean?
You know, talk about cliches.
I'm asking.
I think that we should have fair taxation.
Is that a statement that you agree with? I'm asking.
Well, as a concept, but once again, that we should talk about what's real in this country.
That's Karl Marx's words, not mine.
Well,
that was one of the stupid, like, even if you're an old Republican Fox News reporter, you had to see how stupid that was. But even Marx, and Carlos talks about this in his book, The Purity Fetish, even Marx is very clear that that's not the kind of society we build tomorrow, right? That's the ultimate goal of communism, is to have a society that, as Marx says, inscribes on its banners, to each according to their ability, to each according to his need, right? Like, that's the ultimate goal, to have a society where you get out what you put in, or where, you know, things are actually run entirely fairly, right? Nobody's saying that's the kind of system that they have in China right now or in other Marxist countries. They're in a process of development with that being the ultimate goal as a concept, right? So Marianne shrugs like, I agree with that concept, which is like the same thing Marx probably would have said. Hannity's like, well, Marx said that. Okay. So everything Marx ever said was wrong, and anybody who ever agrees with anything he said is now a Marxist? I'm sure there are things that Marx said that if I took them out of context and read them to you, Sean, you would agree with them. I'm going to go on Sean Hannity's show and be like, do you believe that the workers should never be disarmed and that they should, you know, combat any attempt to seize their arms by force? And Sean Hannity was like, yeah. We shouldn't take the workers' guns, the Second Amendment. Like, well, those are the words of Karl Marx. I gotcha. I guess you're a communist, Sean Hannity, using your own idiotic logic, you human blob of goop.
God, I didn't say yes, because then you'd be calling me a Marxist.
You kind of did,
look,
but
Sean, well, no, I didn't. Look, Sean, look, I did. I did. You didn't trap me there.
Would you support me in this? Do you?
Oh my gosh, look at his audience. Those are some of the nerdiest looking dudes I ever seen in my life.
Look, Sean, well, no, I didn't. Look, Sean, look, I did.
These are the guys watching Sean Hannity, I guess. Oh, she said she agreed with something Karl Marx said. Karl Marx is one of the bad guys. You guys would agree with a lot of the stuff Karl Marx says. You just don't actually read books.
Would you support me in this? Do you support energy independence, and we ought not be importing oil from countries that hate us?
Oh, you support energy independence? That's something Karl Marx supported. Oh, he wanted each country to take control of their own energy industry and, you know, and build them up and develop them. You want to develop the productive forces of America? Looks like you're a Marxist. Got him. This is the stupidest man in America. This man should be deported. I don't even care if he was born here. He's always talking about how we need to deport illegal immigrants. I think we need to start deporting legal U.S. citizens like Sean Hannity. Put him on a boat, send him wherever. I don't care. You can send him to an island somewhere where he can just hang out with the other political pundits. But we don't need him here. Put him on a boat with like all the MSNBC pundits, the CNN pundits, all these corporate media stooges who do nothing but lie us into war and lie people or convince people to fight against their own interests or support stuff that's against their own interests. Put them all on a boat, send them off to an island, and then make it into a reality TV show where Sean Hannity and Rachel Maddow and all these folks are just trying to survive. It'll be like Lord of the Flies. Isn't this like a George Carlin sketch? Doesn't George Carlin have a bit where he says that we should do that? Like put all the prisoners in 4 states and just make it a reality TV show? That's what I think we should do with all the politicians and the hacks like Sean Hannity. Marianne's good. Like Marianne can stay. I don't like Marianne. I'm not going to support I don't really like her. Supports Zionism and shit like that, but I'm not going to support her campaign. I'm not going to throw all my effort and energy into anything that has to do with the Democratic Party. But she doesn't have to go on the boat. She wouldn't be best served sitting on an island being part of a reality TV show for the working class. Sean Hannity offers no value. Right? At least Marianne is like into her spiritual stuff and she's a spiritual guide for people and all that. Sean Hannity offers nothing. Put him on the boat.
And countries like Venezuela. Would you support me on that?
I think that I would support you that we should not be getting oil or selling arms, by the way, to countries that hate us. But I also want to see a habitable planet in 100 years. I want to see massive investments in green energy. I want to see a just transition from a dirty economy to a clean economy.
How much money? We're now spending over $50 billion. Every government agency is spending something on.
By the way, let's just.
You just said you wanted to make us energy independent. You don't think that's going to cost money? Oh. These people have no brains. They have no brains. I want to make us energy independent. I want to produce all our energy here in America. Well, my plan is to invest in these certain kinds of energy here in America. Don't you know how much that would cost? Yeah, it would cost to bring natural gas here, too. It would cost to bring coal back to the U.S. It would cost money to bring oil back to the U.S., but that's equity. Right? When you invest in your country and actually invest in developing infrastructure, it's investing money, spending money that makes more money, which is what China's doing in the global south and in Africa with their Belt and Road Initiative is building equity rather than debt trapping countries, which is why countries are now siding with China instead of the U.S. But you just said you wanted to invest in energy and make us energy independent. And then she said, I'm going to invest in these kinds of energy, and you go, think of the costs. You got to spend money to make money, Sean. How are you planning to make America energy independent and self-sufficient without spending any money? You fucking dipshit. Oh, send them to Epstein's Island. Yes. Midwestern Marks will sponsor the reality show, man. Oh, there's the George Carlin. There's a nice George Carlin quote. I love it. I love George Carlin. I don't know if it's I don't know if I'm thinking of the right comedy stand-up Carlin sketch. But I was a Hannity fan 12 years ago. People can change. Well, that's good to hear, Eric. That is good to hear. I mean, sometimes I don't think there's any purpose in responding to people like Hannity, but there always is. Anybody can be changed. And one thing to remember, and I'll leave y'all with this before I end the stream here today. Thanks for hanging out the whole time. Went a real long stream today. You may not convince somebody right then and right there, but you might be planting the seeds. Right? If you talk to somebody about the war effort in Ukraine and how all our money is being spent on war and how it should be reinvested in us, it might get them thinking. They might disagree with you and say, that's socialism, that's communism. I don't agree with that, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go back to my echo chamber and keep watching Sean Hannity. Right? They might not immediately agree with you, but you might be planting the seed. And then someone else might come along and say the same thing in a different way. And then they inch a little closer, and then someone else says it, and then it's like a light bulb moment. Oh, yeah. Why am I supporting this rich, pampered douche Sean Hannity, who's being paid by corporations to push what they want, rather than fighting for what's in my own interest, rather than being an actual independent and free thinker, right? So you talk to anyone and don't write anyone off. Don't cancel anyone unless they're, being violent or dangerous or like blatantly racist or bigoted towards you. Try not to write them off and try to just stay calm and plant the seeds, because you never know who's going to change their mind somewhere down the line, right? There are a whole lot of college friends I had who weren't really sure about the socialism thing, and then they went and got jobs. Then they left college and went into the workforce, and they came back and they're like, yeah, I totally see what you mean now. And I don't know, not all of them are socialists now, but who knows? Who knows down the line? So, all right, that's all I got for today, folks. Thanks for hanging out. Be sure to follow us, patreon.com/MidwesternMarks. Really, really appreciate you all. Join the Discord. That's all I got. Thanks for all your support. I got wrestling practice in an hour. This stream went a long time, but I'm not surprised because I was hyped up about our stream today. I want to send Sean Hannity to one of those islands where the primitive tribes are hostile. Yeah, didn't we cover one of those on stream the other day? I had a plan to. Either way, that's all from me, folks. Much love. We'll see you next time. Oh, I don't want to end the broadcast yet. I want to play the outro. All right. Now I'll see you next time.
Without a radical redistribution of political and